I also feel that
there we go. I think we're good. I think we got audio now. I think we're streaming. Somebody log in on their phone and see if we're streaming.
Yeah. Look.
We know about the camera. The camera sucks.
We got to get a replacement, but we don't have that right now.
I don't think Prime Now has them.
Yeah, it's. Yeah,
I got dog food through Prime Now the other day.
It's convenient.
It is.
That's how
I was like, shit, we're out of dog food. Okay.
Yeah, we got a replacement. All right. Hooray.
I guess we're on.
All right, continue the joke.
It's not a joke, but all your stories are kind of your life is a joke, so all your stories therefore.
Yeah, at least I'm well fed through all of them.
But that's obvious.
That is no, one of the first. It wasn't early on in our dating. We went and had got a shitload of wings at some place, and I ate 20 of them and cleaned them like to ivory, bones. And she was like awestruck. She had never seen anyone eat wings that sexually before.
She was like, "Imagine what he could do to my clitoris."
That's not exactly what she said. She's like, "Oh God, I hope you don't ever do that to my clitoris." Also, why does my clitoris have so much skin?
Also, sauce.
Barbecue sauce.
What the fuck, man?
Listen,
I'm from the South, baby.
I
don't
know
where the story went. That's not funny at all.
He says whilst giggling.
I know for a fact how you use condiments, so I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah, we know about the camera.
We know about ranch dressing.
We do know about ranch dressing. I don't need to tell that story.
So what you're saying is it's a good thing that you met her before Elvis did.
She'd be dead. She'd be a place that Simba should never go to.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie?
A one, a who, a he. A three.
And three. Oh my god.
Alright.
Good stuff.
So welcome back, everybody. We got a smaller session today. We have people sick. We got people at like 30th anniversaries just this year. I don't know what else is happening. People are.
It's the 30th, third, second anniversary. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like somebody's. Like, I think somebody's getting married and having their anniversary. You
can't have both at the same time.
No, Amanda did it.
It's true. It's true.
Who?
Amanda Recker.
Oh.
Because when a few months ago when she was gone,
She got married.
she got married on. She actually had officially gotten married at the courthouse.
Oh.
The year prior, so she had her ceremony on the anniversary of her actual marriage.
So it was a marriage and an anniversary at the same time.
I didn't know that. No.
You could also do that if you're in one of them fundamentalist churches.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Or if you live in Salt Lake City,
you've got so many marriages that they just kind of tick over into the anniversaries as well. Yeah.
If you live in Salt Lake City, you could have. Yeah. It's an anniversary to a different person and a wedding to another person.
Right.
But,
exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can have your wedding on the anniversary of meeting the other person.
No, that's not a real
Do
thing.
people remember that?
No, I was drunk. I don't remember it.
Too many chicken wings.
Anyway, so
by the way, Burger King has 10 nuggets for $1 right now.
Ben ate 30 nuggets earlier.
I did.
Right.
So he may fall asleep or shit himself on stream.
They're not mutually exclusive. You can do both.
and
They
or
often go together.
I ate 20 yesterday, so.
I've eaten 20 before, and at the end of 20, I felt like
yeah,
I felt bad.
Yeah, so did I. So did I.
So getting to 30.
I'm not gonna waste even $1.
Man,
Not everyone has $1 to feed themselves with, Greg.
I got 12 more, so just kept going.
I'm glad you were able to.
How do you think I got this body? It wasn't through like.
Look, I'm glad you're able to fulfill yourself.
Waste not, want not.
No, unfortunately, I have much waste.
Hey, you're alive. That's what's important.
Thank you.
For now.
For now. Until the chicken wings catch up to your heart.
I really hope that that's not how I go out. We know it will be, but I'm hoping it's not.
It's
So
still blurry over here.
Nuggers, man.
last time we played, when we had like 1 million people in here, Last week.
8,
Yeah,
I think.
ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it was real silly.
No, we had 9.
I don't think it was that many.
No, 8.
It was like 7
4
or 8.
there, 1 there, 3 here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had Alan sitting right here filling in for.
Well, Glenn was there and Alan was sitting behind us for a little while.
Yeah, that's true.
So we visited a monk who
If you want to call it that.
More like a hermit, I think.
I had a pleasant visit.
yeah,
I don't know about you assholes.
I can't help it if I rolled a 1, man.
he kind of fucked with
Okay, I'm moving closer.
Silas and what's my character's name?
Argon.
Argon.
Yeah,
Kind of
Argon.
fucked with them. And then you guys almost got arrested.
Yeah.
Got lectured 3 times.
Got lectured multiple times. Yeah.
Why do we almost get
I
arrested
didn't even
again?
attack anybody.
Because Amanda exists.
Because
I only cursed somebody. I didn't attack anybody, but can't really see my curse.
curse.
Turned a guy into a mummy.
So yeah, basically they almost got arrested because they saw they were told that they needed, as one of their sort of tasks, to break up a fight between Xanathar and the Zentarum, and like if they saw any, they needed to break it up, and they were told to do so without any violence. And then when they saw the 2 groups getting ready to throw down in the streets, they proceeded to try to. The players began attacking the others.
By they, he means Amanda.
Yeah. Granted, Amanda, as a player, was not here when all of that was conveyed originally.
She literally didn't get the memo.
Yeah.
Which is why I was a little lenient and didn't just directly have them all thrown in jail. But some other players also decided to throw down some stuff. So, regardless, they avoided getting arrested with some stern talking to, and that was pretty much most of the session, I believe. Did
Yes.
you guys do anything
Most of the session was getting lectured.
else? Yeah, that's true.
Was I not here
By
last time? And
robot.
if
No,
so,
you
what
were
happened to
not
me?
You were not here last week.
You were gone.
Your character was, I guess, asleep or something.
Taking
I don't
a
know.
nap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then firing his missiles.
Oh, early internet.
So today we are going to pick up. Yar is not feeling well. It seems that you guys maybe got a bad case of booze or something. A number of people are sick in bed. It's been a few days.
Why don't we just turn that camera on?
Walking. I know when
I mean,
we
it's
were
not
walking
gonna
back
work
down
this
from the
entire
mountain
time, this
after
whole time.
visiting the monk, I had to have a few words in private with.
Oh right, we never actually got to do that.
Never got to do that.
Okay, well we can start with that, and then we'll fast forward a little bit. So we are now with Silas and Matthias. I keep wanting to say Sebastian for some reason. Well, not for some reason. It's because Matthias, and it makes me think of Matthias
Sebastian
Shaw, and then Sebastian Shaw,
Yeah.
and then
I'm there with you.
Guts. Gut.
so Matthias and Silas coming back down the mountain from visiting the monk, and they've Silas has sort of told Argon to
Fuck off.
fuck off. So Argon heads back to Troll Skull Manor on his lonesome. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a monk. He'll deal with it.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
So it's like
So now that we're alone, are you gonna make a move? Do I need to hold on? Do I need to like whip my lips or something? I don't know what's proper.
No.
That's
That's
not
not
what
what Matthias.
Could it be?
Dude,
Do we have options?
no, I feel like it's imperative that I at least inform somebody about what's coming soon. So real quick, The order I belong, the order of blood hunters I belong to, we like to utilize things that monstrous creatures utilize in their everyday lives, but we use them against them to capture said monster or kill said monster.
Fight fire with fire.
Yes.
Only in this case, the fire is, I don't know, a giant's cock or something. I don't know.
No, you're on the right track. I have willingly accepted lycanthropy into my being through an act called the taming. I'll explain all this in more detail later, but I need someone to know that at some point the change is going to happen, and
Do I have to stab you? Do I put a muzzle or
no.
do I have to fight you?
No. I'm
Really?
still in control of my own thoughts and my own power, and somewhat, and I'll be able to.
I did hear that. All right, you sneaky bastard trying to put it under, but I fucking heard it.
But I will still be an ally, and I'll be more effective in combat. Obviously.
Oh, well, that's only a mild bit terrifying. I'm not gonna lie to you because I'm just a dude. Just so you know, I'm not gonna turn into werewolf or a bat or a tree. I know some people do that. I won't be doing that.
You're not a robot.
I'm not a robot, and I can't go. Oh look, I've got a saw for a hand. Oh. Could you imagine if he was wiping and that shit happened?
Can you do
I
that?
don't think he has to wipe.
Yeah, oily.
Did you do that?
Yeah, people
The-
call me
the
when they
sword
have a
music?
fucking
Yeah,
robot.
it's
Anyways,
cool.
What, so when did this happen?
it happened a long time. When I joined my order, I undergo something ritual
Conversion therapy.
called the taming.
Okay.
My inner what are you doing?
Have you played Skyrim?
You know. That was a
It's
highlight.
a good thing our camera's off. No one saw that.
And 12, and 13.
I still play Skyrim.
The taming is when I accept the lycanthrope bite, and a series of meditations and rituals later, I'm able to control the change.
Have
Therefore,
you gone through this change yet?
Not yet.
So you don't know shit is what I'm hearing. You know what's supposed to happen, not what
What's
will
supposed to
happen.
happen, I'm not know what will happen. Yes, let's put it that way.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's. I'm super excited to be around all you people all the time. I love it. All right. So when is this going to happen? Do we have a time?
As soon as I reach level 3.
As soon as a god in the sky says I'm level 3, I know.
Don't call him a god.
I mean, he's the game master. He basically is.
More like a gay man.
It'll happen when it happens. I know. I feel it coming. I just don't know when. But it's on the horizon.
Well, I appreciate you coming out to me. I still accept you for what you are. I want you to know.
Came out of
Accept
the
your life
closet.
choices.
I accept all the choices you've made and who you want to be, who you want to
He
present
should have
to
come
the
out of the
world.
closet when he
I'm
said
normal
that.
out of this group, and I feel like I'm connected with you on a friendly level.
It's not even. It's not a closet. It's just like a travel on cage.
Just a doghouse.
So I'm supposing that because we're doing this without the monk here, you don't want them to know.
Not yet. Just they will soon enough, obviously. But
I would go ahead and say it's probably better to get ahead of that particular. Like you don't want to be in the middle of something and like, oh, we're fighting something. Oh God, Silas is a werewolf. We
I
don't.
figured I'd try. I'd
Probably
explain myself
not.
to one person first. And
Oh yeah,
see
so
how it
that when
goes.
you hulk out in the middle of a fight, I can be like, no, it's cool. It's cool, I knew this. He sent me a note earlier.
That was my original
Did you
plan,
not get
but
the
I may not be
email?
so effective this time around. I don't know.
Maybe, you know who you should tell? Yeah, he won't give two pisses about it.
Yeah, it's true.
He'll probably be like, oh, that's fucking great. and then
That's
move
cool, mate.
along.
Have a drink. Okay. drunk bastard.
Yeah, he'll probably say something funny like, "Oh, it'll put hair on your chest." Oh, do you get it?
Really?
Quite literally.
All right, so we don't
let's
tell
get up.
anybody, but I would implore you, please don't let me be the one carrying this burden for
I'm not
you.
gonna carry it for too long. I just really wanted to tell somebody.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Just
You're bad at keeping
Hurry.
secrets, aren't you?
no, I'm not. I'm not.
No, not you,
Let's
him.
just get off this bloody mountain.
Well, it's not bloody. It's just a regular mountain.
It will be if he turns into a werewolf.
Well, oh God, oh God, you're right.
So, since we turned that camera off, if you like want to put something on the thing to show viewers, yeah, let's
Yeah,
wait
just
for
maybe
it.
a picture of me and Mike. That'd be pretty
Screenshot.
That would work.
Now, like, as we're talking, if you could have our two models and just kind of shake one while we're talking, that one's talking. That'd be pretty
Y'all
good.
are asking for a lot.
Could you
Is there a way to like?
Could you every
like,
couple of
reboot it or
seconds take a picture of Mike and then like slowly hand animate them?
String them all together.
Yeah.
something? Be like poor resolution.
Yeah, just, it's fine. Just low res. It's
Can
cool.
we do some claymation like stop motion Mike and Ben?
Mike and Ben versus Ichabod Clay.
I loved that game. Clay
Or just
fighters.
have a program so like
That was a
two
really cool
models,
game.
and every
That was a
time
cool game.
program hears his voice, that model moves. Every time the program hears his voice, that model moves.
We don't have time to do all of that.
I know, just joking
Stop
around.
motion we could do.
I remember the heavy advertisement for that game too. Like every magazine I looked at, gaming wise.
Yeah.
Like,
It
It
helps
was
that-
always that snowman. I can't remember his
yeah, the
name.
snowman, like full page spread of like an ad for
It
this
always-
game.
I think one of the reasons I loved it is I've always been even when I was much younger, I remember being introduced to like Clash of the Titans and a lot of other old Ray Harryhausen like stop animation stuff, and I was always fascinated by it.
Yeah,
And so
definitely.
that game I was just like, wait, it's a fighting game and I get cool stop motion freaking crap. I'm in.
Yeah, sign me up.
There's this game that sadly
Like,
I was not
quick,
able
now
to
we
get
gotta
hold
go
of,
spend
but I
$50
watched it
right
on
now.
YouTube. And all the cutscenes were actually done by Miyazaki.
What?
Miyazaki, it's an
Oh,
animation studio.
probably Dragon Quest.
No,
that's
That
a
was
Kira
the
Toriyama.
studio.
The Dragon Quest.
It was actually called Ni no Kuni.
Oh yeah, Nino Kuni. They've got two of those now. I didn't realize that Miyazaki did the art.
So
For
wait,
the
so wait,
first
we
one,
boot
not for
this
the
thing?
second one.
How do you do it?
I played the second one now.
I mean, I can try. I don't think it's gonna matter.
Oh, plug it, unplug it, plug it back in.
Probably not.
Don't worry about it.
Really.
So
don't.
Says the man who everyone can
All right.
see.
So you guys eventually get back to Charles Skull Manor.
Yeah, that-
Again,
I don't know what's happening with it now.
sort of fast forward a few days. A number of people have sort of fallen a little bit sick, staying in bed,
Pooping.
pooping.
Lots of pooping.
I don't think we've gotten plumbing yet, so that's gonna be pretty.
I don't think the world has gotten plumbing yet entirely. So,
There's a plumbing guild, Todd, in the fucking Waterdeep City.
that's true.
The old poop smiths.
The old poopsmith.
I believe there's, according to the blueprints, there's two privies somewhere on the second floor.
Yeah, no, those are ye old Jack Shacks.
Oh,
Those are for different things.
my bad.
Still requires some flushing though.
Yours in both of them somehow.
So, Daddy 2PP. So, fast forward a few days, like I said, people are kind of sick, and
Maybe it's a shack. We gotta get this place up and running.
yeah, it might be that y'all's living conditions it's not really the best, so maybe that's, people aren't really,
There's-
I believe there's
there's
holes in the roof. and if it
mold.
rains-
yeah, there's like
And there's
black
also-
mold and
Yeah,
shit.
there's holes in the roof, and if it rains, well, it rains inside too.
Yeah. So, after a couple days, meanwhile, every morning, TK, you get up
There you
and
go.
go out and
They
you
can
sort
see
of
you now.
play guard for the street sweepers.
Yep.
And
Oh, I get it.
generally nothing more over the last few days of anything of consequence
Put this on the map
has happened.
Oh God.
They've also had like you occasionally also see some
Terrible
city
map.
guard out there kind of watching them with you. So like that.
Are we frozen now?
Maybe.
We are
Yeah, it's the
frozen.
next morning, right? And the next day.
Well, this is a couple days.
Couple days
I've
out.
gone-
I'm gonna have to. I have to go to Black Sabbath. Well, Silas has to go to Black Sabbath Tower to
There's a
turn in
Black
what he,
Sabbath tower?
turn in the information that he gathered from the monk.
Unplug that camera, please.
That wasn't supposed to happen. I'm sorry if that was loud.
That was your fault.
What's on the back of that camera?
It says
says
PC
US
camera, USB hub.
USB mode, PC
Oh.
camera, or charge mode, charging mode.
Can't read it from here.
USB mode?
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Our normal engineer is out today, so we are sort of winging this.
So, okay, when
Supposedly
manual
we'll be
three
back on
items
the
appear,
break.
select
Yeah,
middle
who
item
knows?
using side buttons and click OK front button.
Middle button?
Okay is on top.
Okay, it's up here.
Oh. He said front. That's the top, not the front.
Whatever.
I would tend to agree. That's fine. Is it doing a thing?
It has a little camera lens on it.
Alright, so let's come over here.
Still froze.
Glenn's like, yay, I can see Ben.
Huh?
No, Glenn.
We
There
really
we
shouldn't
go.
have bothered. No one
Giant
wants to
Senior
see
Glenn.
you too.
Activate.
Activate.
You've got more people looking at us than
Yep,
looking
that
at
didn't
you.
We're frozen right now. Actually, we're gone right now.
You should just let it go then. Let it go.
Let it go. Wait, how are they seeing you when your camera's not even plugged in?
He switched us to the map camera.
Oh.
You don't have a map currently.
I don't, son of
And now we're off. This is wonderful.
Great start to the day.
We got,
I blame Glenn.
UVC
Yeah, how
camera.
dare he leave us?
You better be glad Mama Son made us rice or we'd be hungry. I wouldn't be hungry. I'd still have at least
30
10
chicken.
at least
Surprised
10
they-
of
surprised
the,
they have any room left.
Oh my god. It takes a lot of energy to roll dice and move little plastic army men on a table.
Honestly, like, that seems silly, but by the time when I leave here most Saturdays and I go home, like, I'm beat.
It's not like it's
What are you doing?
physically
You're doing
draining, but it
pretty
is like you're constantly
85%
thinking.
talking.
Well, yeah.
No, we're talking, we're being actively engaged, and you know what? It's also kind of late. I'm old now. I kind of like going to bed. I've
Yeah.
noticed.
Sleep is for wussies.
Yeah.
It says the
Yeah, until
17th.
you get home to like almost 2.
Who
sleeps,
who
like,
sleeps
12
all the
hours?
time?
It depends
Like
on-
what do you do? Like your life is just sleep, eat, unlike some people, and Minecraft. What else do you do?
Hey, it's not
Minecraft.
restricted to Minecraft.
It's
That's
mostly
50% of my games.
Oh, for fuck's
like. Do you
No.
hold on? Do you ever eat while playing Minecraft?
Well, no, not Minecraft, but other games, yeah.
What is it about Minecraft that makes it that you can't eat?
Well, that depends
Is it
on
out
what
of
I'm
like
doing.
respect to those
No,
around you?
it takes, depending on what I'm doing, it takes a little bit more thought and
I have a hard time
concentration.
like eating and playing a game at the same time. Like I need to watch something, finish my meal, and then I'll like go to a video.
So I'll tell you what I've been doing. Like I haven't been playing a lot of video games because of time, but I've been playing. I bought a StarCraft Remastered because I love StarCraft.
Oh yeah.
But I've been playing through that, and then on my other monitor. If you've not downloaded Pluto TV, do so. It's a free app, truly free, but it has television stations. Not that you will care too much because you've got them all, but it has an entire channel of just MST3K,
I do have all
riff tracks.
I don't have all of those.
But there is a channel that is nothing but fail army videos. So it's just you just turn to a channel and watch people fuck up their day. Just in 20 seconds. Nate came over the other night and we watched like an hour of it. It was great.
It was pretty awesome.
It was great.
It's more satisfying than watching people fail.
That's what I need to do. I just need to call up randomly, like, hey, I'm coming over.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. You can let me if you can let me know.
I was MST3K is always it's my go-to whenever like I need something on, but
I don't need to pay attention.
right. But I want something that I know that when I am paying attention, I'm gonna enjoy what I'm.
Yeah, it's like I don't care about the movie overall.
Right.
Yeah, I
or like
totally agree.
the other week I was sick one day. I don't know what was going on. I had like a 24-hour bug and I was sick. And I basically just laid in bed
Fucking
most
hate
of the
this.
day with MST3K on, just like going in and out of sleep. And I just watch MST3K until I pass out, and I wake up like an episode and a half later, watch some more, and then they pass out.
All the movies just became one big one, so it was like Manos, the Hand of Zone Plan 9 from outer space.
Yeah.
Big, McLarge, huge.
Rock Steak Crunch. Yeah, that's like my favorite show ever.
That's why.
Done that twice, Glenn.
And TK pick.
Still, like, probably the most successful Kickstarter I've backed.
Well, I mean, especially considering you backed Robotech.
Yep,
Oh yeah.
I did do that.
Ooh.
I also backed Hex, as did you.
Yeah, I did too, but I backed it for a whole lot more money than you did.
You sure did.
But I had money back then, so it's like it was stupid, but it didn't hurt me that much at the time. I also backed Kingdom Death for quite a bit of money
Hey, we're
because I was
back.
told that some of that money or half of that was going to be split with me by another person who then moved out of state.
Oh, I was about to say, that was not me. I
No,
don't
that was
recall
Nate.
ever
No, it
doing
was
that.
Nate.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a thing.
He was like, "Dude, I really want that game. We need to let's back it. I'll go in half." And I was like,
That's
"Okay."
different.
And then he never gave.
Yeah, not you.
Yeah,
no,
not
different Nate.
I gotta play like
The Nate that had PTSD and was hiding in our bushes on 4th of July.
Josh with the cameras here.
I did put a glow stick in his butt. We could see him in the dark.
Look, parties at our house back in the day were real silly.
They got weird. They got real
They
weird.
got real weird. Male nudity was real common.
Super common. Still the proudest I've ever been with Mike.
Yeah.
Closest I've had to fatherhood.
That
That
you're
I'm
aware.
aware of.
Yeah.
Alright,
I've been the
we're-
parties that ended up like
We're
that.
back
Are we
up.
functional?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Sorry about that, everyone.
Couldn't leave well enough alone. Had to fuck with it.
Whee! All right, so we fast forward a few days. Like I said, a lot of people are out of commission for various reasons. Nate, you've been sort of taking your job that you were given by the Lord's Alliance to look after the Street Sweepers Guild.
Yep.
In the mornings.
Done sweepers.
Nothing really has gone anything strange over the last few days. And
Players guide. Oh, players handbook.
Yeah,
there should be one around here.
There's one.
Then at this point, it's been about probably 4 days since the
scolding.
the scolding. TK, you're kind of getting ready to head out the door. There's a knock on the front door. However,
Who is it?
you hear a familiar voice, and he's like, "It's Neveremba."
I'll open the door and let him in.
I need to talk to that guy. Where am I?
He walks in and he's like, TK. And he sort of like pats you on the, it looks like he's reaching to pat you on the shoulder,
Clang, clang.
but it's like,
Ooh.
he just sort of pats you on the elbow, like clang. And he's like, yeah, some mates of mine said that, Silas was looking for me. Do you know, is he here? Is he home?
Do I know if he's here?
I mean, we came back.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they
It's been like 4 days.
Yeah. The best of your knowledge, he's probably, if you haven't come down yet, he's probably, last you saw, he headed up to bed the night
I'll be,
before.
like, what time of day is it? Is it the morning?
Yeah, it's morning. It's probably just past sunup, so like
Okay,
maybe
yeah, then I'm coming.
6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, then I'm coming.
Have we figured out if Leaf has full run of the house or just the?
Does he watch? No.
At this point,
He's a kinky geist.
you have probably determined he does have full run of the place. He tends to keep mostly to the bar.
Right.
But he is capable of going elsewhere. You don't. If you call on him in any of the other rooms, he doesn't normally show up. He doesn't seem. It seems like he has a sense of duty as sort of a quote-unquote proprietor to...
He'll recall to the bar, but if you dispatch him somewhere else, he can go somewhere else.
Right. If you're like, hey, could you go do whatever? But he seems to not really... Like, he seems fond enough by you guys, but it seems like, as a ghost, he has a sort of sense of duty or recurring sort of, I guess, habit or whatever, that he feels himself responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the bar.
Right.
Anything that it has to do with the bar, the tavern, he's either already on it or he's happy to oblige anything that you guys bring up. If you're just like, hey man, could you just like go up to my room and like grab something for me? He's kind of like, fuck you, I'm not your slave. You know,
Right.
I mean, he doesn't say that obviously, but you just don't get a response.
But theoretically, like, he could go get
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
get their attention, like, blow in their ear or something.
Sure, yeah. You also do notice that when there's other people around, at least currently, if they're new, if they're not someone who's been around a bunch, and he's sort of like...
He doesn't want to expose himself.
Yeah, he doesn't really expose himself much.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys aren't home, maybe he does. You're not really sure if you're not there, but you know that for years, people had seen or interacted with him because people noted the place might be haunted and
Right.
were, stuff like that. But you get a sense that was probably him trying to protect the tavern from unwanted people. But now that he kind of feels comfortable that you guys are trying to take care of the place and do what you can, he's less likely to show up and try to scare people away or things like that. He just kind of keeps to himself.
All right. Well, I want to make some kind of way that I can signal, like, if he comes up and asks for something, I can be like, 1 moment, please, and like, he'll know to like go get their attention, so I don't have to like call on him in front of somebody.
Sure.
A series of pulleys with bells at the end.
I mean, I imagine, make a, I know this isn't going to be great for you, but make a charisma check. It's not really a skill check, just a...
Good luck. Natural 20.
Holy crap.
You have, and I'll say with that kind of role, you've sort of taught it to everybody else sort of as well over the last sort of few days. It's a series of knocks, basically, you can make pretty much anywhere in the tavern that,
I mean, the whole place vibrates. There's no structural
basically,
integrity.
if you knock on like the bar or a table or even just like a door frame or whatever, a particular pattern, and if you call out a person, one of the group's name, it almost sound to any observer. It seems like maybe there's some sort of magical something like happening in the house, but you're actually signaling to Leaf, "Hey, could you go? Somebody's here for so and so. Could you go get him?"
Right.
And he seems keen, like, he won't do a whole lot more, but if he needs to just go fetch somebody, like, that's fine. It's easy enough, as long as he doesn't have to make himself known to any outsiders. So,
Right.
So he's just appreciative that we're doing something like that.
Yeah, his thing is he wants the tavern back open,
Yeah.
so he's happy that you guys are slowly but working towards making that happen. So,
Orlando.
so yeah, after Neverender kind of steps in, he says he's looking for Silas. You do your knock on the door frame and just sort of say Silas's name, and you're like, just a moment, he'll be down, and then a few moments later, you're probably getting dressed or something up in your room.
Yeah.
And you just sort of, you hear like a breeze, or you feel a breeze sort of come through the room. It's a little familiar. This is like the middle of summer, and this sort of unnaturally cool air sort of floats into the room. It makes you sort of stiffen up, and the hair on your arms stand up.
Window's not open.
I mean, do you even have a window?
Gives you an
But,
instantaneous.
yeah. And
I think I do.
and you just sort of hear a very faint voice that just says, like, visitor.
Hey, lady, let me whisper in your ear.
And then went to our part of dressing I was in the middle of. I hastily finished it.
Okay. So a couple minutes go by, and Silas comes down the staircase on the outside and around to the front door of the tavern. As you're walking around, you glance through the windows on the first floor, and you can see Neverember is
Okay.
standing in the tavern.
I'll probably come through
With
the door.
TK.
I'll probably come through the door at the base of the tower area.
Yeah, okay,
If there's a door still there, I don't know.
that's fine. I mean, I imagine that any of the doors to the outside, you guys at this point have probably repaired or just for security reasons.
Yeah, that's nice of you. Yep, so I come in, and I was like, oh,
They may not have like locks and stuff on them, but they
Right.
at least latch.
yeah.
No bears wandering in.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Neverember, glad you stopped by.
It's like, yeah, I had some friends that said you were looking for me, and I figured the least I could do is come by and see how you all were faring.
Yes, exactly. Actually, what I want to perhaps talk to you about before any of us go any other routes. I know we are going to try to fix this place up. I'm not sure if people are all 100% sure. I look over at TK, we'll glance over TK really quick, and I'm not sure if we were all like sure about reopening the place as a tavern. However, that'd be great, actually.
You're good at words.
What's his charisma?
I know it's going to take quite a bit of money for starters, renovate the place and fix all the holes, the broken wood, the state that it's in currently.
He kind of looks around. He's like, "It will not be a cheap or quick job. That's true."
I don't want to deal, well, if I don't have to, I don't want any of us to probably deal with any kind of bank or institution where we have to, borrow money. But I was hoping, if you wanted to contribute to this place.
No.
And
No.
Well,
being that's the North Ward, and North Ward hasn't had a tavern establishment in quite some time.
he kind of looks like he's mulling it over in his head, and he's like, "Have you done any investigations as to exactly how much you're going to be needing?"
Not quite. I believe it's probably going to be right around 1,000. That's what I'm guessing. To restore just the building. That doesn't even begin to cover any of the guilds that would have to be involved with their licensing and such. Which I'm all for getting that, gathering that stuff. Excuse me, on my own, but just the raw cost, just to fix the building up, make it more livable.
Make
all of us.
Make a persuasion check.
Persuasion.
Don't roll a 1, or I'll fight you.
Well, not bad. But this is 12.
Okay.
Yeah. 12.
He says, "It's a lot of money, and I may be the son of Dagal Neverember, but I don't have. I'm not exactly on the best of terms with my father, and so I don't exactly have access to all of my family's funds. That said, that doesn't mean I don't have enough of my own. Here's the thing, though. I'm not a bank, and I'm, as much as I'm in debt to all of you, I'm not in the business. I don't know all of you well enough to know whether or not this would be a sound investment, that I would get my money back. So, what I can do is, so there's, I have an idea, but there's some hurdles. I think the idea of a tavern in this ward is a great idea. I think the bones of this building, despite the state of the rest of it, has legs, and it could be a fabulous building once again with proper care. I can get you the money, but I would need a 10% return and I would want 25% ownership of the business. Now, the problem with that, if you were agreeable to those terms, is that while certainly I still have friends in Waterdeep, my name carries weight, and not all of that weight is positive with everybody. My father, when he was the open lord here, well, let's just say there's a bit of a reason he's not the open lord anymore, at least in terms of the public's eye. What they say about him is true or not, I'm not going to get into. But some of the guilds, many of the guilds, if they knew you were in business with me, might make your business that much more difficult and or costly. So,
Would you object to being a silent partner?
that was going to be my recommendation, is that if I was going to join in and take a portion ownership of the company, that my name needs to be off the lips of everybody in here when doing business. Likewise, I would likely very infrequently visit and probably do most of any correspondence we need business-wise through secure message, as opposed to otherwise people may begin having suspicion of my involvement, and that'll make it more difficult for me to make a return on my money due to more difficult means of you making profit.
Yeah.
So,
I understand. I didn't realize there was negative connotations to your group
Well,
name.
again, I may not have had anything to do with the reason my father is no longer the open lord, but I do still carry his name, and my face is rather well known. So,
Public opinion and all that.
right.
Alright. I can't make final decisions. I was just testing the waters. Everybody who owns a piece of this property, I will have to have a meeting with them and see how.
I will say, if you do end up trying to go through the bank, of course, you'll be able to divvy up ownership amongst all of you however you like, but you're not likely to get as good of a interest rate on the loan. You're likely to look upwards of 20 or more %. Who knows, maybe some of you know some people, but if you did, you probably wouldn't be coming to me yet. So that's the trade-off. If you want to go to a bank and get a loan, you're probably going to have to pay back more in terms of interest on the 1,000, I guess you say, gold. But at least you keep the extra 25% ownership. So.
Yes, quite right. I'll definitely have this conversation with my comrades
Alright.
about it. I'll seek you out again.
Good. If you do need me, again, not always the easiest to get a hold of for my own reasons. Just leave word at with the barkeep at the Yawning Portal that you're looking for me. He typically knows how to get a hold.
Okay.
So that way, there's no question on who to go through.
Very well. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Of course, he shakes your hand.
Yeah.
Heads up. While you're down talking to him, you notice that TK is kind of getting ready to head out. The last few mornings you've known he's gone back out to guard over the Dung Sweepers Guild. He looks to be heading out to do the same again. I don't know whether or not you take anybody along the last few days, or if you're going by yourself.
By myself.
Okay. Are you going by yourself again today?
TK's learned his
Yep.
lessons from last.
Okay. You head out, and takes you a little while to get there. Everything's kind of going fine. Does anybody else want to do anything in the morning?
Yeah, I want to pay. Well, Silas is going to pay a visit to the Black Snap Tower and tell the Black Snap herself what the message was that Monk has that Monk has given.
Okay. All right. You head out.
Huh?
If I can, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I guess that leaves me alone.
Yeah.
Either I wait for you to get up or I go stir.
Yeah, I'm always.
Okay.
Are you sleeping in? Are you getting up in the early with everybody else?
I'm getting up.
Okay. Well, then you probably head downstairs around the time that you kind of see everybody heading out to various things for the morning. You also know that TK has gone out over the last few mornings to... He's got a job from the Lord's Alliance that he has joined to protect the Dung Sweepers in the morning, make sure that nothing happens to them.
What about the Gauntlet guys? Anything new from
The Order
them?
of the Gauntlet?
Yeah. The last I checked, it sounded like they already took care of.
Yeah. Nobody has checked back in with the Order of the Gauntlet yet since then.
Although then again, it doesn't sound like we really succeeded at our job much.
You did with some hiccups. Technically, nobody died in the scuffle,
Okay.
so
Probably a few broken bones.
you're not sure how the order is going to take it. Nobody's checked in, so
I'm sure if I let them know that our comrade was not present when that was discussed, that they'll understand.
So are you going to go try to see the order then? The order
Yeah, I
gauntlet?
suppose.
Did you end up joining the? You didn't end up joining.
Yeah,
You
I
did.
The
Okay.
Gauntlet. Me and Mike.
Yeah, I
Stallings.
knew Mike had. Couldn't remember if you had or not. Okay. Yeah. You head over there. Takes you probably about 15-20 minutes. Upon entering, you see Savra Bellabranta, who you had spoken to the last time.
She was the one who gave the mission, correct?
Right. And she sort of sees you, and you.
She's probably a little displeased.
You. It's hard to tell. She has a look of sort of just like she kind of sighs and sort of like a heavy sigh and sort of like this idea of like there you are, like and she kind of hurries over to you. It's like, we expected some of you and Argon at least, to check in with us. Not long. We heard about what happened the other day. We expected you to check in soon after.
Yeah, what was his name again?
Argon.
Argon
Argon,
has seemed to come down with something, so I was the only one who was able to show up. Last few days have been busy. I apologize for not checking in sooner. As for what happened, we recently got a new teammate who was not aware of the discussion, and I apologize for not making her aware. Didn't exactly go as we had planned.
Well, luckily no one. I mean, minor injuries. But no one died. And so, ultimately, your mission was a success.
Shut up.
I do hope in the future that if you decide to invite any of your colleagues with you on
We'll
any.
make sure they're aware of everything.
Yes, please. It does look quite bad on us when we are trying to work closely with the City Watch, Lord's Alliance, and others to keep order in this in the city. To have members of ours be seen committing acts of chaos and violence in the streets. So, but my understanding is the matter's been dealt with the magistrate. You're all no charges, so that's good. Luckily, it was also early enough in the morning. I don't think too many people bore witness. So, it's just let sleeping dogs lie. Ultimately,
Learn from it in the future.
yes. So, ultimately, I want to say thank you very much for doing a job well done.
I mean, the job is
Ish.
done.
Yes, and ultimately, this solidifies you and Ogden and as a place in the Order of the Gauntlet. We don't currently have much going on right now, but check back with us from time to time, or we might seek you out.
You know where to find us.
Yes. If you need anything within reason for your station, you're welcome to come and ask. We will see what we might be able to suss out.
I heard rumors while performing at a tavern recently about, I think a murder that happened in the dock district. I thought that I might check that out and hope that you might have more information than I was able to find.
We don't have much information on that. I know I've heard of a few. The dock district is a rather dangerous place to go walking at night regardless, but I've heard some things here and there. There's been some bits in the papers about some deaths that had some, I suppose, rather macabre details.
Macabre means dark, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But we largely don't do a whole lot in the dock district, just as a result of the fact that, well, to be quite honest, if we start dipping our toes in there, we might never do anything else. So no, we don't have any information at the moment, but if you do decide to go investigate and you find anything out, then let us know and we may be able to back you up with any further resources that you may need.
Thank you for your time.
Of course.
Go on and head out.
Silas and Matthias, you guys get to the Force Grey Tower, or the Tower of the Blackstaff. Again, it's early. There's not really any training going on in the courtyard like there was the last time. You just kind of see a lot of people. You see some people doing like some PT and stuff like that, like just going for jogs or stuff. You see some people kind of sitting around having some breakfast together. It's pretty quiet right now in the area. As you approach, you're greeted by seems to be just sort of general guard or whatever. Just asks for your name and purpose at the tower.
Yes, Silence Gray. The Mistress Blastaff is expecting me to turn in a recent task that I performed for her the other day.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess head on into the tower. They'll be able to ring Madame Safar for you, and so far she's not too busy. So yeah, just don't cause any trouble while you're on the grounds, please.
Of course.
Hey, Silas. I'm
causes trouble no matter where he goes, ground or air or water.
Just, what was the word?
I thought box the word.
I thought bird was the word. Alright,
No.
you head through the courtyard to the tower at the center, and there's a large set of doors there that you walk in, and you're sort of greeted at like almost like an antechamber that has like a desk and some chairs, some tapestries hanging on, stuff like that. And there's a gentleman sitting at the desk. It seems to be some sort of like, I guess, for lack of a better term, like not meeting area, but like it almost seems like, wouldn't use this term in the setting, but like a secretary, right? Like something you go in and you're like,
Right.
hey, this is what I'm here for, you know, blah blah, and he tries to, you know, contact you or direct you where you should go, type thing. And he's not in any sort of armor. He's just kind of like in a petticoat, or not petticoat, but it's like a vest. Yeah, like a tunic and with a vest over it. He's dressed fairly nicely, and he's got glasses, and he's just sort of sitting there. It looks like he's writing something with a feather and, you know, inkwell, and he sort of hears the doors shut behind you and looks up, sort of presses his glasses up, and he's like, yes, how may I help you?
Yes, good morning. Silas Gray, hopeful prospect for the ladies Blackstaff's Force Gray group. I'm here to, I performed a task for her by seeking out a monk on Mount Waterdeep to procure a message for her.
You went to see Halam. Okay.
Yes, to deliver said message.
Alright, and, well, the lady is busy at the moment, but if you would like to give me whatever information was related to you, I will pass it on to the Blackstaff.
I don't like that. I don't know him.
And I don't know you, so why should I take any damn word from you?
Well, one thing, I don't care about the lady, but she was the one that asked us to get the message. You weren't.
And I am the intermediary between the Blackstaff and anybody who comes calling for her. So,
Well, then
You
you
can
can call for us when the lady can receive the message.
She did greet us the first time we did come here, when she sent for us
and
the first time.
was mighty nice of her, I'm sure. You must be very proud. But she is a busy woman, the most powerful wizard in all of Waterdeep, and has things to attend to, which is why she hires someone like me to handle the small things, like taking missives from random noobs.
If it was so unnecessary, why should she have us do it to begin with?
I never said it was unnecessary, just that she does not need to hear it directly from your lips in person. She only needs the information, not to see your face.
Who would ever
That's
want
bullshit.
to?
I've got a pretty great face.
Doesn't
She
mean
might.
she needs to.
She might think so.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
don't
nice.
know. I think so.
Anyways,
Maybe not hairy enough for the looks.
alright. It's early in the morning. I don't want to argue.
I wake up in the
Please tell
morning
her
feeling
that
like P. Diddy.
Silas Gray did come by and did complete the task at hand. If you're ready to write down the message, I will give it to you.
He's like, go ahead.
Evil's twin hides its face for now. Expect that to change before winter's end.
Shots it down. He's just like, yes, I have it. Let me read it back to you just to make sure I have the message correctly. That is, Evil's twin hides its face for now. Expect that to change before winter's end.
Correct.
All right, I will relay it my earliest convenience as soon as the lady has some free time. if you would like to check back some other time, you're free to, but I can't guarantee you when she will be capable of seeing you again.
Yes, I will check back later. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
You
go,
too.
guys. We're done here.
All right.
You head back out. Job complete. Nothing more for you to do at this point. So unless
one of the lousiest dates.
unless you guys
Just
plan
me,
on
was that guy's an asshole.
Honestly, you're both kind of assholes.
Shut up.
unless you guys are gonna go shopping or
Why didn't you, goddammit?
I didn't tell him, did I?
For a fancy candlelit dinner.
Where do you want to go? Apparently, we have the whole entire day.
I don't know, whatever you want.
Jeez.
You wanna
sound like
head
an
over
old
to the
married
portal?
couple.
Oh yeah, let's go to the portal. Maybe something fun will happen.
Alright.
Alright. You guys head to the portal.
How long you two been married?
TK!
I was still doing it, so not very long.
You're glad that you don't exactly
Honeymoon phase.
Smell. well
Well,
the last few days standing out in the streets covered in human filth, being swept up, would probably be pretty terrible.
oh my god.
Why exactly are there people shitting in the streets?
And I was shit in the streets.
Because you have to understand that this is there is a sewer system, but like running water and plumbing is not a thing that exists really.
So, open a bucket.
Right,
Where's the
that's what they
bucket?
do. And you want to know what people did in
The poop's going
medieval
to
times after they pooped in a bucket? They threw it out the window.
They really did.
Yeah.
So then they hire
Disgusting.
people to then come sweep it up and push it into the sewers.
One of the major
And that's what these people
contributing
are
factors of why
doing.
the Black Plague spread so
Yep.
far.
And that's what these people do. They come out in the morning before most
Just
people
the
are
rats,
out.
guys.
You'd
Walking
learn this
around
if you
and-
weren't all on the Minecrafts all the time.
And they literally just sweep shit into sewer grates. That's what they do.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Your Highness, you look like the piss boy. You look like a bucket of shit.
like what Steve Urkel would say.
Mr.
Get a book.
Put your poops in my mouth, Mr. Buck.
Anyway,
It's probably about, you've been out there for about an hour. Most of this normally doesn't take much more than about 2.5 or so hours in the morning. So you're about halfway done, you expect. When you're getting to a point where there's actually like a large you're actually over near like the outskirts of town, and towards the outer wall area on the other side, is sort of the exit of the sewer sort of dumps out of the city and
become somebody else's problem.
yeah, becomes somebody else's problem, basically. There's a gate or like a door that leads outside the city walls, not too far from where you're at. It's probably a good 60 feet away. All of a sudden, there is a yell from outside of the wall, and then you see someone come running through the gate. The gates are open. It's more like they're just for people to come and go as they please. And you see someone come running, and they're armed and armored. Make a perception check.
16.
You can tell just based on their outfit and stuff, they are a member of the City Watch, and they're kind of booking it back in the city. And as they run through, the two guards that are at the gate sort of like, "What?" Huh? And they're like looking back, and they're like, "Oh God!"
Oh no.
The dung sweepers are all kind of like what's happening? TK, what's going on over there?
I'll find out. Fall back away from the gate.
There's a couple of other city guard that are kind of with you.
I just start moseying in that direction.
Yeah, they've all sort of like drawn their shields and swords, and they're kind of like, going that. But they're all really worried because the other city guardsmen that are over there, all one of them's running away, and the other ones are kind of like look like they might fucking abandon their post.
Might pass out. Hard to say.
How close are they to me?
They're about 60 feet away.
Okay. I'll start walking towards the gate.
Okay. You hear the two guards you hear another scream outside the gate, and then you see hear the two guards sort of looking like really nervous, and they're like, "Oh God, what is that thing? Let's go. God, could you close? Can we close the gates? God, let's start getting the gates closed." And these are like big ass fucking doors though, so like it's gonna take some time. They're over like they close on like a big crank thing they've got to get working, so they're over trying to get that thing moving. And then I imagine you keep heading towards the gate.
Yeah, I'm walking.
Right. There's two city guard guys with you. They're kind of. You can tell they are moving at a pace that keeps them behind you. They're sort of like inching forward, sort of like this, with their weapons and their shield up, sort of trying to like look around, listening out for what's going on,
staying behind
you, like making sure that you are in the front. Then you see. Well, you don't really need to make a perception check at this point. You're close enough. You're basically at the door, and there is, you see, come around the corner from the outside, this big yellow, like almost centipede-looking thing, but with like tentacles coming out of its mouth, or like where its mouth should be, and there's like
It's gonna be like,
and it kind of comes around, and it sort of rears up a little bit and grabs one of the guys that's on this crank thing trying to turn the door.
Oh shit! It's right there.
Yeah, it's like right there. It comes around and like grabs this thing, and just like
they said, I was weird.
you see, it like pulls the dude. The guy's screaming, and this thing pulls the guy up towards its face, and the tentacles sort of wrap around him, and like you see just this ooze sort of drip from its mouth and begin just like melting the dude.
Ew. That's nasty.
And as it's doing, as the guy melts, you see the thing like slurping up the goo that the guy is becoming.
I just look at the guys. I'm like, you guys are fucked. Start hauling ass back to the dung sweepers.
See ya.
The city guard has been notified. I am protecting my charge.
Okay.
I am doing exactly as the city captain commanded me to.
Okay. So yeah, they
Nice robot.
you turn around, you say that, and you head back towards the dung sweepers, and they're like the two city guards that were kind of behind you. Now they're like, what? The other guy that was at the gate that was also trying to turn this thing with his buddy, who's now being like devoured. He's like, oh God! He starts trying to swing at this thing. He's trying to attack it. He's no longer trying to turn the crank at all. Now he's just trying to he's like, oh, I'll save you! Oh God! You know, like he's trying to he's hacking at this thing. He's putting some cuts in it. It doesn't seem, and it kind of reels away from him. Like you see it sort of it's this long,
centipede-looking thing.
large centipede thing. And you see the rest of its body sort of swing around, sort of tries to put its distance between itself and this other guard that's attacking it while it sits here and eats this dude.
Absolutely amazed about gelatinous cube came through the city for whatever reason.
No, it's not a gelatinous
I
cube.
know that's where
I missed the centipedes.
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah.
was
yeah.
hapless thing.
Make a...
Acrobatics.
I'm trying to think it would be nature check, I guess? Either, or...
I have no idea what that thing is.
Or just a straight
Fuck,
dodge.
fuck, fuck,
Okay.
fuck, fuck.
It looks like a bad time.
Probably.
Oh, it looks like a
For
terrible
the
time.
city watch.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
yeah, with the skill simplified.
The
it's
dung
probably
sweeps, however,
nature.
will be protected.
Yes, they will.
Um,
Come along, children. Let's get out of here.
Goodbye!
so, it eventually finishes eating the first guard. The two guards that had been behind you now, they're sort of like, let's go. And they I wouldn't say charge, but make their way towards the thing.
They
Good for them.
They meander towards it.
Good for them. I thought they were gonna run.
You hear them be like, as the one guy is still trying to attack the thing as it's finishing his buddy, you hear the two of them are kind of like, we can either be three of us against it or two of us against it, because they're like, if we don't help him, he's dead too, and then it's just us.
Right.
So their odds are better if they go up there and try to help him.
Bad time.
So
we don't understand your memes.
it's Undertale.
There's a character who
No,
gets
there's
really
not.
pissed, and it's called Bad Time Sans, and there's a theme song specifically for Bad Time Sans.
That's
Was
neither
this
here nor
was
there.
this on the Emoji Movie? I don't know what kids watch these days.
It's a game.
Oh.
Anyway,
So they're up there now, hacking at it. You've run back. The dumpster's like, oh God, I've heard stories that those things are in the sewers, but I never. Oh jeez. Oh, what is it doing? And like they've all sort of like, they've backed up and they're like, they still have street left to sweep, so that like they're like, we should get the fuck out of here. And some of them are like, but we've got to finish sweeping the street.
stand your ground, dung sweepers.
The head of the dung sweepers that are out there is like, they're like, no, we gotta finish sweeping the streets. You know, like the rest of them are like, fuck you, man. Like,
There's one grizzled black guy in the back, like, I'm too old for this shit. It's still somehow Danny Glover.
Stand together and sweep, and we'll be done before you know it.
He'll be done before you know it.
What's oh my god.
I'll
So-
cover you.
they're just like,
Together we can wipe
Okay.
out shit.
Yeah.
so they,
Has any guard gone to like get backup?
no,
Okay, is there like a bell to ring?
there would be one not directly like right by here. Like basically like every handful of city blocks, there's usually like
Frank.
yeah.
Alert the city guard.
Fuck it, if it gets me away from here, alright.
Sweepers!
Forward! They're like,
And I'll unfold my sword and I'll march with them. Like, we're doing this!
okay.
Do you hear the people sweeping the shit?
Chim
Hey mom, I made a Les Miserables joke. That's the classiest shit I've said on this program.
True.
Yeah.
You
Oh boy.
make a persuasion check, I guess.
Single aim,
They would be thoroughly entertained.
11.
Okay.
Better with a
Well,
live
that
studio
was
audience.
No, that was a 12.
Yeah.
-1.
You would.
They don't
He's gonna have
run,
to pay for this shit.
but they're not really moving forward either. They're all they're just like,
Alright,
they're
so
like, dude.
I'll move forward, and I notice nobody's coming with me. Like, and I'll like snatch the broom from one of them and start sweeping with my offhand.
Come on!
Inspire them with a rousing oratory.
Okay.
Sweet better.
You as you're doing this, you're kind of keeping an eye on this thing, and the 3 city guardsmen that are attacking it. They look like they're putting some hurt on it a little bit.
Good.
But
Hang on, where are they right now?
they're like at the gate fighting this thing. They're about 70 or so feet from TK and the Dung Sweepers.
Okay. What would the chances of me hearing the commotion be?
Probably nil.
Depends on how close I am. Or I'm in the city.
I don't think it'd be very likely based on where you were at.
Well, I don't
Just,
know where I'm at.
Sit quietly like the rest of us.
Glenn,
Everyone's getting a turn, lads.
Glenn says, kill something.
Shit.
As you start sweeping, I'll let you make another persuasion check with advantage this time, since you're now sort of leading by example.
Well, it's a good thing I had advantage.
Is it?
Yeah, no.
So basically, you're just like, you're trying to rally them behind you while you're like, whatever. But they're basically just like, oh, well, if he's gonna do it, then we don't need to.
When they continue to not advance, I'll back up and start sweeping shit into them if they won't move out of the way. Get to work!
Okay, now make an intimidation check with advantage.
There are at least a couple of quests
13.
like this in Warcraft.
13.
Okay. And this, you eventually you get pissed and begin
Well, that's
sweeping
out of the
shit
way.
back onto them. You fling quite a bit of shit onto the feet and legs of a few people who are just sort of like standing there being like, oh, well, TK's gonna take care of it, and then like they're just splattered with fucking feces, and they're like, oh fuck, and they look at you and you're just sort of like, and they're like,
Okay.
Can you
Okay,
make facial
okay.
expressions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay.
These
So-
guys get wetter.
they're like, okay, Jesus.
Shit generating protocols active.
They start sweeping. Like, let's get this done quick
He
then.
just starts throwing
Um,
solid blocks of metal that
so
he's
let
shooting
me-
out.
Let me make some. All right, I guess so. This is gonna turn into, instead of this being a fight, we're gonna have to do this some other way. So
Oh, it's an escort
Oh.
mission. Damn it.
Oh,
Oh, and he's faster than the NPCs.
I've got the
I
top
hate
hat
that.
hat.
roll initiative.
Oh god.
I say 7.
11.
Oh.
7-Eleven.
Does somebody have the initiative tracker?
I
You
do.
got it? All right. The carrion crawler has a 7 as well,
That's what it is.
has a 7.
Yep.
The guards. Oh, they have a 19.
Nice.
Boss fight.
So, guess guards are first then.
Yeah. Let's see how well these guards do.
I'm gonna fold away my sword and get out my heavy crossbow, load it up. If they lose the fight, I'm starting shooting.
You know what? Take the bolt out. Put the broom.
So I have guards.
You get shit in this thing's eyes. I guarantee you, it will have.
I've got
shit on
guards,
its face.
TK-41, and
That's
monster.
all I can guarantee.
Alright, so first guard against it is, hey, just hits.
Hey!
He
That's
does
totally useless. Yay!
Just
uh,
The second guard let Vicky roll, or she's just gonna get more mouth.
he rolls. Alright. He manages, he takes a swing at it and sort of lops off one of its like tentacles hanging from like its face. How many hit points does it have total? God damn it.
Yeah,
Ah, there we go. Okay. The next one. Oh, Also hits. Does a little less damage. Just kind of stabs it in the gut. That's total. The third one whiffs. The third one just kind of goes to attack it, and the thing just sort of like quickly like writhes and moves out of the way, and you see him just not connect with anything. Then that was the guards. So who's next?
TK421.
All right. So TK, in order to get these streets swept completed, I'm going to allow you to basically do some various. It's a skill challenge essentially is how this is going to work.
Shit.
So, well, you can either basically this is how it works. You can either aid in killing the carrion crawler, and then once it's down, whatever, work can continue at whatever pace Dumb Sweeps want. If you want to try to finish the sweeping before and then just get everybody the fuck out and let the guards deal with this, then you can either essentially try to encourage them and rally them through either intimidation or persuasion checks. You can work at sweeping yourself to push it along, which would be, we'll say...
Sleight of hand?
No.
Performance.
Yeah. We'll say it would just be a straight strength check.
It takes that much strength, but he'd be great at that.
Yeah.
Shit.
And
As Jeff Goldblum would say, that is a big.
I'm trying to think of other options you'd be able to try to, encourage to do this.
Alright, so
I mean, that's all I'm going to do. Unless you can think of something else to try to, push the progress
I'm
along.
gonna find 2 gnome sweepers.
Okay, sure.
Like,
Oh god, I already know what's about to happen.
Same.
like, you and you, over here. And I'm gonna pick them up.
I knew it! I knew it!
And they're gonna hold their brooms, and I'm basically just gonna run down the street holding these gnomes so that they can sweep ahead. But I'm basically gonna be a shit plow.
Alright.
We're just gonna
You
try
hear that, Randy?
So yeah,
It's
make
not-
Shit piles are coming.
I'll let you make.
Who
Since
knows?
you have 2 brooms essentially at your disposal this way,
Mr. Leahy, why?
I'm going to allow you to make the strength check with advantage.
You could just grab 2 brooms and put them in that.
No, this is better.
fun.
This is funnier.
Alright, so that's a 16.
All right, so that's 1 success towards the challenge.
How many are you going to require?
You basically need to have
You won't know.
3 successes before
Until
3
he's
failures
satisfied.
Okay.
to succeed at the challenge. Also, before the guards are all fucking dead.
Yeah, if the guards all die, then I'll have to fight the carrier.
Right.
But that's fine. I'm staying in my lane. It's what they told me to do.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. So we've got
Also, this is funnier.
the carrion crawler is next.
Yep.
Carrion crawler.
So it attacks 1 guard with its tentacles.
It's a good name for a middleman.
Huh?
Would be a good name for a middleman.
I think there is one.
Oh my god, I think it may have missed.
Mother of God.
Lucky for him.
It definitely did. I rolled a 5, so it missed. It sort of lashes out with its tentacles. The guy manages to put his shield up and sort of bat them away. Then it turns and tries to bite another one of the guys. Oh, geez, rolling like shit for the carrion crawler.
Yay!
Also misses, so it tries to bite down. The guy's wearing a chain shirt though, and it just the teeth don't really sink into it. So it puts some pressure on the guy, and he's able to wrench free of its mouth. And then we go back up to the top, I guess. So the guards, right?
Guards.
So, gee, and I'm rolling great for these fucking guards. There's 1 hit.
Yes.
It's all gonna work out. Except for that one guy.
Except for that one guy.
Yeah, he
Uh,
is hell.
I
Next
think I'll
guard.
make it. I think I'll
No,
make
that
it.
one's that's not a
dude,
great roll.
no.
So that one misses. And then, oh, a crit!
Damn.
Pass.
So,
This guy's doing good.
Guards on point.
okay. I mean, they've passed the halfway mark on this thing.
Excellent.
So this big yellow centipede thing looks like it's putting up a decent fight, but the guards actually seem like they're holding their own. Okay, it's bleeding. It's bleeding a gross green blood, but it's got cuts on it. It's missing some of its tentacles.
They might have to switch their name to Blood Sweeper.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, considering this thing's died, it's probably all the same.
Yeah. So now it is TK's turn.
That's another 16. That's 19.
All right, that's 2 successes. As you're running, pushing with these gnomes in arm, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?" The gnomes are like, they're just trying to hold their sweeps in front of them effectively as you're just like running with them. You're just like running circles up and down the street with them and stuff like that. And they're just trying to like not have their fucking sweeps break against the stone of the.
On this week's episode of David the Gnome, David gets PTSD. Poop traumatic stress disorder.
The rest of them are sort of like, holy shit, and they're all just sort of like, all right, let's get this done. They're sweeping along as well. Then
So if you get like one, then their brooms break or something. Sounds accurate.
Then it's the carrion crawler, so attacks with its tentacles. Oh my god, a 3! Okay, and then attempts to bite, and a 6. So it once again completely fucking fails everything. This carrion crawler.
Who hired these assholes? I did, sir. He's my cousin.
The carrion crawler seems really distracted by having 3 targets attacking it, and it's kind of just lashing out wildly at them. And the guards they're trained, they're regimented, they're able to sort of like jump in and out and sort of use each other's maneuvers to keep this thing kind of on its many toes.
I don't know if it counts as toes, but what else?
Yeah. Then we're back up to the top as the guards, correct? So let's roll amazing for the guards again, I guess. Oh, no, there's a 3. All right. We got another fail. Then an 18. So we got another hit. Didn't do that much damage.
They're doing
That's
better
okay.
than we would, especially with me in the party. No man ones.
And then
That's what we were thinking.
so only one of them hit this time. Did just a little scratch on it, but it's making progress.
Okay.
Make your roll.
Single penny is closer to your daughter.
Do my best to defend myself.
All right. So at this point, you managed to get the streets completely swept up. Everything seems fairly clean. All the dung's off the street, the piss, everything else, and all the street sweepers, the dung sweepers are like, all right, look, the street's done. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Is my job done at that point, or do I have to like escort them back to home base, or?
Our job is dung here.
At this point, their jobs are done,
Shades.
which means like,
Well, when is my job done?
right? What I'm saying is like they don't like they just go home at this point, right?
Okay.
So like they're all just like,
Yay.
they're all taking off in different directions. So
Good job, guys. I'm proud of you.
That's probably what.
they're like, thanks, DK. The gnomes are like, put us down, you big oaf!
We don't like this!
Sorry.
We don't like this at all!
And they're just like, they beat feet. They get the fuck out of there.
I'll walk towards the carrion crawler.
Okay.
What's the fuzz?
It's now carrion crawler's turn again, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, where did the D20 get? There it is. Right there. No, it's not. Shut up. Oh God! All right, so I crit with the tentacles
No, we didn't.
on one of them.
Oh no. Luck has turned.
Actually, that's probably the better one to crit with. It looks like it's the least technical damage, but so guy takes how many hit points do they have each? Ooh, this actually might not be good for him then. He takes.
He did.
No, not yet.
But he is
So-
holding his guts in.
So the thing wraps its tentacles around one of the guards, and you see this secretion begin to sort of like pour over him again. It's
Peter
not
North.
acid. It's actually like this like a contact poison that gets into it and just it's necrosis that just immediately begins eating away at the thing, at the guy.
That's nasty.
Yeah. He also needs to make a Constitution saving throw. Oh, he did not roll well.
Luckily, he gets a +10.
No, he does not.
No, he doesn't.
So he is now paralyzed, which means the carrion crawler now has advantage on its bite, and this dude has 1 hit point left. So, oh god, it just crit the fucking bite. Okay.
Well, overkill. But it
So
was-
yeah, this guy, you see the poison from the tentacles sort of like already eating away at him, the necrosis setting in immediately, and he's just like his muscles have seized up and he can't move, and you see him just like, "Ah," and then the thing just it's just like its teeth just sink through him like butter as the poison is already sort of like dissolving him and just rips him in half. One of the guards is just gone. Back up to the other 2 guards.
Or, go on.
That's a 13, which will just hit it. Okay, he does a pretty good hit on as it's sort of tearing his buddy apart. One of them's like, no! And shoves his longsword deep into the carrion crawler. Pulls it out, green blood pouring out the wound.
No, Jacob. I don't know her name.
Herbert! No! The
It's
other
great when we
one,
harmonize on it.
the other one also hits, doing max damage. So, also, I guess, in a fit of rage of seeing his friend devoured in front of them, he's like, "We'll get you for that, you son of a bitch!" And like, just stabbing at it, and
He got
multiple wounds sort of opened up. The thing's looking pretty bad right now, but definitely still standing. So it's now your turn.
Okay. I'll move closer. I don't know how close am I.
At this point, if you spent 2 turns moving, you're about 10, 15 feet away.
Okay.
Or you can be further if you want, depending on how close you want to get to it.
You got your.
Yeah. City Watch. Do you need assistance?
They're like, "Did you just see what it did to him?" But yes!
Weapons free. And I'll shoot it with my crossbow.
Okay.
That is a 21 to hit
That'll definitely hit.
for 5 whole damage.
Okay. Your
With
crossbow
you, it's
bolt.
always whole damage.
Your crossbow bolt sort of flies past the city guardsman and just buries itself into the soft flesh of the carrion crawler.
Balls deep.
You can barely see your arrow, your fletches out of it.
Meanwhile,
It's
the yawning
it's
corner.
still up, but it's definitely sort of like it looks like it's sort of heaving at this point. It's not doing too well, but
bosom.
the
You know what the whole.
it's what carrion crawler
In and out.
next, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to attempt to attack. She crits again with the tentacles on one of the
What
guards.
the fuck are you doing, Biggs?
At least it's on the guards.
I mean,
Enjoying some hentai porn, that's what he's doing.
Max damage with the crit, just like
Oh,
last
God.
time. So gets advantage on the bite against him. I don't think it's gonna matter. It's gonna hit regardless. So yeah, just again like you see it wrap its tentacles around another one of the guards. The one that was like, "Yeah, you dummy, we need help," and like as you turn around looking at you and you fire the crossbow, the thing takes advantage, wraps its tentacles around him, and again the poison just immediately seeps into his skin, and you see it turning black and soft and mushy, and then it just bites into him, and just tears a huge chunk out of his side, and you just see his guts spill out. He just sort of like, you can tell like in his last moments before he loses consciousness, he's like looking at this hole in him. He's just like, ugh, and just collapses.
That's nasty.
Yeah. It then
That's nasty.
realizes it seems to then drop down on all of its legs and attempt to run sort of away from the guard and kind of put some distance between everybody. The guard is going to take an attack of opportunity. Misses.
Is it going into the city or
No,
out of
it's
the city?
it's going. Looks like it's going back out, maybe in the direction of where it came from. The guard, he takes the attack of opportunity, misses. It sort of slithers out of his reach. And he's like, "We can't let it enter the sewers again. It'll just heal up and come back." He sort of like starts to make like he's going to chase after it. It's the guard's turn now, though, right? So
Yeah.
he moves up on it. Well, what's this
What's
thing's
left of it, at
movement?
least?
So yeah, it only moves 30, so he's able to chase it down, make an attack. I rolled a 2, so nope. He swings at it. This thing's clearly trying to be evasive. Gets out of the way of the attack, and it's now your turn.
I will double move, I guess, to try to get ahead of it.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to do that. So you're about 10 feet away from it, but you're kind of.
Okay, if I'm only 10 feet away from it, then I'll.
Well, once you double move, you'll be like 10 feet away from it.
Okay. Yeah, and while I'm moving, I'll switch weapons. My sword is out.
You're in front of it, but in front of it 10 feet at that
Right.
point. Okay, so you switch to your sword. Alright.
Oh there.
Oh yeah. Hold there.
It is
Hold there.
the crawler's turn.
Hold the door.
Um,
Hold the door.
It sees you trying to sort of block off its path, and it makes an attack with its tentacles. It has reached 10 feet with the tentacles. I'm pretty sure a 27 is going to hit you.
It is.
So you're going to take.
And it wasn't a crit.
Yeah, it was not accurate. You're going to take 5 points of poison damage, and now make a Constitution saving throw.
I am rusting.
Natural 20.
Nice.
Alright, so you shrug off the paralysis, but you still sort of, you feel the poison sort of entering into your systems, and like, you're made of a combination of wood and metal, and where the poison gets into the wood, you feel it rotting,
Yeah.
and stuff, and it does not feel good.
What do I think he'd be immune to that?
I'm immune to disease and exhaustion from
Oh,
lack
yeah,
of rest.
Yeah.
I have advantage on
That's-
saves versus poison.
It then tries to. It doesn't go for its second attack. It tries to just. It keeps its distance from you. It's 10 feet distant from you. It tries to sort of like move away, and it's heading towards this big open pipe, like the exit of the sewer pipe that it seems to have come out from. It's making its way to it. It's about 20 feet away now that it's moved.
Does she get an attack of opportunity when it passes?
No, because it kept its distance. It is now the guard's turn. He chases after it. He's right on its tail. Just hits. Oh, and max damage. He runs up, and as he runs, he's like, sees it getting close to this gate or this exit sewer pipe, and he's like, "No, you don't!" And he sort of like jumps and just like brings his sword down, stabs into the back of it, and as the thing is running, he kind of falls off, but holds his sword in place, and the thing just like cuts itself sort of like down the middle of it, slices it open. It kind of like continues to wriggle and then just like stops and like collapses, and you see its legs all curl up and dies.
Brutal.
Good job.
Victor is
He's just kind of like. You see, like he's just like wide-eyed, and like everything's just like, oh Jesus, oh God.
Have a seat.
You should take deep breaths.
Yeah, he does.
Through your nose.
He says that he doesn't really take a seat. He like takes a knee. He's got his sword still sort of like planted in the ground, like green ichor and blood sort of like dripping off of it. And he's just like, oh no. I knew those guys. They have families. Oh,
Yes.
Jesus.
Had is the correct version of it.
And he just, yeah. And then after a minute, he sort of turns to you and he's like,
Time to catch his location out.
"Thank you, thank you, citizen, for aiding me." And he sort of looks at the citizen.
Stab back, citizen.
Yeah, just thank you, whatever you are.
You're welcome. And I was like, just wander away.
He just stays sitting there as you walk off. He seems to just sort of be collecting himself.
And his friends.
Probably thinking to himself, how do I file this report?
Yeah, kind of.
I mean,
a combination of that and a lot of other things.
Assume,
And how do
honestly,
I tell
it's
those
probably
families?
just one form. Like in this day and age, like it's just one.
What killed your friends? Big yellow worm from sewer.
How many
All right.
of your friends did it?
Yeah.
3.
Approved.
Just those hey, what did he? God damn.
Carrion growing.
Yep. So, yeah, that was your thing for the day. You head back.
Jeez.
I'm assuming to Troll Skull Manor at
Yeah,
this point.
on my way back in, like, did the city watch send back up?
As you're walking back, yeah, at this point, like, you see Watch running up, like, coming in. They just see you walking. Actually, as you're walking in, you're kind of like stepping over these 3 dead bodies, and they just see you, and they're running up, and they're just like, "Stop! What is?" like, you're like right now. It's just you and some dead city guard is all they see.
Yeah. Situation's been handled. You lost 3 men. There's 1 more alive down there. The creature's dead.
They're like, we're gonna need to ask you some questions.
Okay.
They sort of walk up. They're just trying to they're like, don't walk off. Don't worry, we need to stop type thing.
I roll my cameras.
They're like, what happened?
Ask your man. He's a little shell shocked.
The guy in charge sort of like takes a few steps out, so he's outside the wall and looks around and he sees this dead monster and his guard, the one guard, sort of sitting there just collecting himself, and he's just like, Jesus, okay, and so you helped put the beast down.
Yeah, kind of.
That's super helpful.
What were you doing? Only kind of.
I was protecting the dung sweepers.
You must. Okay, you must be. Gotcha.
We've heard about you.
Well, you sent one of the guys back, so he.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, you're free to go. We'll get the information we can.
Thank you. I'll go back to Troll Skull.
Yep.
I was hoping it would be the same City Watch captain from last time.
No, it's a different area of the city that you're in this time. So.
Different wars, different captains.
Yeah.
I've been like, I stayed out of the fight, sir.
Yeah, you go back. Are you going to go to the check in with the Lord's Alliance or anything, or
No.
tell them anything that happened? No. All right.
No.
You head back to the manor. At this point, it's probably everyone's kind of done with everything you're doing. It's probably approaching lunchtime.
Yay, lunchtime.
We went to the portal.
Break.
Oh, that's right. You guys went to the portal.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys doing at the portal?
Drinking?
Drinking. How much are you wanting to spend on booze?
How much is a drink?
Depends on what you're drinking.
Bring the good stuff?
I'm not a classy man.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
It is.
Really, it's like you tell me how much what you're willing to spend. You spent that much, and then you tell me if you're trying to get drunk or not. If you are, let's roll some Constitution saves. If you're not, and you're just drinking maybe slowly drinking some good stuff, then fine.
I don't know, maybe 2 gold pieces worth of like booze and food.
Okay, I mean that's a lot. That could, in theory, be quite a bit of booze. Depending, it's like if you're spending. That's like saying I'm spending like $25 on booze and food. Oh, by the way, I'm buying like McDonald's and PBRs. Like.
Did you know that you can get 10 chicken nuggets from Burger King for $1?
If you're eating
This guy
$10
and got 30.
right? If you're eating 30 Burger King chicken nuggets and spending the rest on PBRs, like that could get you pretty drunk. Whereas, if you're like, oh well, I'm spending $25 on like, a fucking
Steak
fancy steak and a glass of wine, that has a very different effect.
Maybe my concept of currency is skewed. So.
Yeah, it is a
Well,
different thing.
gold. So you got to think, a gold is like what the average person probably makes a gold or two in a week or two of average labor.
Right.
Think about that.
So if you're spending 2 gold on your meal and booze, like that's
Maybe
considerable amount.
maybe we'll just spend like it's how many silver is it to a gold?
10.
Oh, it's not. I think it's different in those games.
Not anymore.
No, it's
Not
it's
anymore.
it's what 100 silver to a gold. Or is it
Maybe
10?
like 50 silver.
No, it's 100 copper to a gold. It's 10, 10, and 10. 10 copper
Is
to
it 10, 10, and 10?
Yeah, it's 10,
Okay.
10, and 10.
Never mind.
All right, so then probably like 5 silver a piece. Then
I mean,
Pretty
you
it would
were
be
saying it'd be 1,000 gold to fix up that.
like because
many.
we'll probably just be picking up
much
ales
do you
and
think it would've
like
been
drinking
if they
them
sat
while
down and
talking.
Okay, we're going to Chili's during
Or
rush
no,
hour.
No,
Hey,
I'm wrong.
yeah, that's
I'm wrong. It is
That's
100
50
copper to a
pounds.
silver and 100 silver to a gold. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So yeah,
Like I said, Chili's lunch hour. That's
So
much.
probably like 20 silver.
yeah. You're spending
Okay.
think of it this way: a silver is like $1, right?
Yeah.
So like a gold is like spending $100.
$100. Gotcha. All right.
Okay, then yeah,
More
like
sense.
20 silver.
Yeah, 20 silver.
We're getting like we're not. It's not just a bread basket. We might have a dipping sauce as well.
Yeah. Or 2.
That's true.
You're getting the queso.
And so, yeah, exactly.
that's right.
Like that's how you can tell you've made it. Whenever the waiter comes up, would you like queso? And
You
you
just-
just automatically say,
Yes.
Practicing my charms on Bonnie if they work. I don't know.
I don't know. Make a charisma check.
All right. Charisma check,
There's any
folks.
girls there.
Let's
See
do
how it
that.
goes. Oh, yes.
"Aye,
19.
Okay.
you should ask if she likes dogs."
Do you like dags?
Thanks. All right. She sure. She seems pretty receptive to your flirting. She flirts back a bit.
Because you're a puppy now.
You're a puppy.
I'm drunk.
It's like, Matthias, what is your problem?
I whispered it.
Yeah. She seems fairly receptive to your flirting. She flirts back. She's very playful with you. Everything else in terms of her dialogue and she'll sort of like giggle and touch your arm, that kind of thing.
Like I do pretty often.
So yeah,
Fred just told me, product placement, man. Spin the coke around. You don't want to get sued.
Coke. Oh, that.
Yeah, I actually have coke. I should probably pour it in something.
I've been sitting over here with a McDonald's cup like half the
Yeah,
time.
me too. Like,
Whatever.
I don't think it's not that big of a deal.
I'm not too concerned about it. When we start actually making money at doing this,
Then-
we'll worry about it.
I'll buy a mug or something.
Well, didn't we make hypothetical here with pint glasses or something like? Or
Working
working on it. Okay.
Glenn, did you win? Yes, Glenn, we won.
He can't hear. Yes, Glenn, we won.
So yeah, what are you guys planning on accomplishing at the Yawning Portal? Nothing really goes on. There's people drinking. Bonnie flirts with you.
I already did my thing for the day. I don't know if Matthias has anything on his plate, but
I'm not affiliated with anybody.
yeah, it's right there.
I'm not affiliated with anybody, so no
I'm
one
my own
came.
man.
No one's come up to me to give me quests. I don't have
Nope.
anywhere to go. I just tag along.
No cats with shining lights.
I don't.
on them,
Yeah, I don't
that's
have
it.
any cats. Like, I already took care of your old guy problem. All you gotta do. Apparently, all you've got to do is not be a cock.
I rolled a 1! God damn it!
All right, roll the 1. I'm a cock.
Alright, so we are pretty much, unless there's something specifically that everybody wants to do,
Yeah.
the day goes on pretty normally. Everybody gets, you get some food, dig around.
I'm going to try to perform at
We got-
a tavern again.
We
I
got
think,
piss
at some point.
and
Okay,
shit.
make a performance
Glenn.
roll.
It's a fucking carrying carrier. He just has to be gotten to it.
Carrying crawler.
Did not do so good this time.
He can't hear you.
What'd you get?
4.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
They threw me off.
No, that's true. 'Cause he-
You play for about 5 minutes before somebody nicely comes over and asks you to please stop.
Had a good day. Got it.
So
Food.
eventually the day kind of ends. Evening, Leaf maybe pours you guys some drinks at the tavern.
I like Leaf. He makes me booze.
You guys are running really low at this point on the case that you guys had gotten from the guild. You guys have kind of sampled most everything at this point.
I think Yar
Yeah.
has sampled
Yeah.
most of everything.
There's just little puddles of yar everywhere. We've really got to put him in a bathroom.
And
is there a
then-
way to attach a privy to him?
Then you guys go to sleep. Is anybody staying up late or anything like that? You're just kind of...
I'll stay up late.
I mean,
I'll just be downstairs talking to Leaf.
Me and Matthias are probably
He's not a very good conversationalist.
No,
really
He listens really well, though.
I was gonna
maybe,
say,
maybe that's all
probably
I
down.
need.
I'm probably down.
I'll be-
I'm probably
I'll
down
be
too. We're both
practicing, I
probably
guess,
toasty at this
for a
point.
bit.
Okay. So you guys are... Eventually you guys all go to bed, though. And no weird, crazy dreams or anything like that.
No visits
No
by
weird messages
any
on the
weird
wind.
Yeah, no
No
mess.
flying dragons with
No.
pieces of paper.
No,
There's a flying snake.
No white cats that. Whatever.
none of that stuff. But all of you are woken up really, really early. The sun, you can tell as soon as you open your eyes, the sun is still fairly low in the sky. The entire house is shaking. You hear a loud ruckus, like outside, and immediately as you open your eyes, kind of come into consciousness, you feel the building shaking. You hear a loud, the sound of like wood and other things sort of shattering and breaking apart, and then you
So much for the tavern.
you hear the sound of like the whoosh, the roar of like of quickly moving flames, and then screams of people on the street.
Okay.
I turn over and
So it says,
I get up and.
it says here that it says the windows rattle as a roar of an explosion fills Troll Skull Alley.
Like Mickey from.
Charred bodies and anguished screams fly through the air. A thick cloud of acrid smoke billows outward from the blast, which seems to have occurred right outside your door.
Oh, good. It's not
Open
in
the
the door.
Okay.
Get off my lawn.
I go downstairs and try to figure out what's going on.
What the fuck was that?
As you throw open the door, TK, you see sort of wood and like bits of stone from the cobblestone on the ground, stuff like that, sort of like falling. You see this upward movement of smoke and like fire sort of billowing up from the street just outside of Troll Skull Manor. And there's other people on the street, people moving. There's most days, there's like little sort of kiosks type things that people will put up to sell little things here and there. And so the streets are already kind of starting to fill, and people are screaming, running in different directions, and things like that. What do you want to do?
if I see some like random people, I'll try to like get somebody to come towards us. Like, there's safety in here.
Okay. No, a couple people sort of see you, and they make their way into the door, but then they also kind of look around. They're like, "Oh, is this the best of choices?"
It's better than in the fire.
Everybody else is kind of just
Fire is the fire again?
just running, sort of just chaos in the streets, screaming, running in
Nobody
different
thinks
directions.
Yeah, I would have
Well, if anybody
woken up.
comes by,
Okay.
I'll be like, come inside. Tell me what happened.
Okay. Yeah, if you ask, a couple people do come in. You ask them what happened, and
Mending doesn't work that way.
they pretty much just tell you that.
Where's the thing?
What thing?
The box thing.
You can use the thing if you want to use.
I kind of wanted to see it because it's easier to see doors and such on there than it is here.
I only have the first floor though.
Okay, so yeah, there's a door there.
Beep.
I think that's a door. Yeah, that's a door.
We got.
There's a back door. Easy escape if something happens.
Where's some of my random little peoples? We got some people that have come inside. You ask them what happened, and they're just kind of like, I don't know. I was just walking down the alley, and there was this just explosion and fire and smoke. And I think some people died. I think some people were caught in the explosion. I don't know. It all happened so fast.
Yeah, some charred bodies out there.
Stay here. I'll move into the street and see if I can find any wounded or.
I'll be running down the steps.
Yeah,
Before
the address
I
is
follow
right
him
downstairs,
out,
probably right behind Matthias.
I tell them where the back door is in case they need to make an escape.
Okay.
And then I follow after him.
Alright, nothing's on fire right now. There's no like blaze happening or anything like that.
Right.
But when you walk out and you kind of look where all the smoke is billowing away from and stuff like that. Now, at this point, the fire that was rising up, that's all gone away. Like I said, you see some charred bodies on the ground. Not too far. You know, they're probably like right out here. Not too far away. From where you're at, though, unless you get up closer and do some investigating, it's hard to make out anything about them because they're obviously worse for wear.
Yeah, I'll move up to the bodies. I'm gonna check them, see if any of them are alive.
Okay.
And I'll see if there's like any identifying marks, tentacle tattoos or.
Okay. Make a investigation check.
Yeah, that's probably gonna be a joke. Actually, it's not too bad.
Since I'm
15.
following behind him, I'll do the same.
Okay.
He did better than me, actually. That was a 9.
Well, first off, you notice. What did you get?
15.
15. You were able to make a quick count of the bodies. There's 11 bodies.
Wow.
Yeah. You sort of. You're trying to kind of quickly gauge exactly what who some of these people might be, if you recognize any of them, things like that.
I imagine most of them are burnt to a crisp, but are there any who appear that they might have survived?
They're all. I mean, anybody who's survived is not laying there. Like
Okay.
anybody who's laying on the ground out there is dead.
So there's nobody who's just injured.
If they have probably run off or I don't know. They're not around right now. You see one looks to be probably an elderly woman. You see two cloaked, what you assume to be male humans. They do look like they're wearing sort of charred leather armor and some weapons at their side.
I want to go ahead and inspect them to see if I can find any identifying marks, figure out who these people are.
Make a medicine check.
20. Not that.
Okay. Yeah, those two individuals in the leather armor, you do see that they have I'm sorry, just one of them has on their right forearm, a winged serpent tattoo.
And the older lady?
Looks like an old lady.
Nothing special about her.
No.
Alright.
You also see two what appear to be female humans, and one male. Doesn't completely look like an elf, but has sort of elongated ears.
Half elf.
They are not armed or armored at all. They are fairly well dressed in common clothes, though.
So they appear to be caught in crossfire or something?
You don't know. There's a smaller body. Does not appear to be a child, though. That is got a burned. That looked like it had like a long cloak on, but it's largely sort of burnt up at this point. He actually has in his hand a dagger. And then two female, also kind of smaller bodies, but not quite as small as the one with the dagger, who have some burnt up instruments kind of lying next to them.
Like musical instruments?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then two more males of a similar size to those. Those two were female that have the musical instruments next to them, look like females. Two more male bodies of similar size, also just sort of like laying down nearby those two. And that is all 11 of the bodies. It's just like a quick glance, other than your investigation of the two in armor.
Alright. We should get away from the bodies.
Don't want to be caught in assumption.
Well, we don't want to piss off the city watch. There's no survivors to help. We should move back.
Alright. You, at this point, you guys probably have come downstairs.
Yep.
You see they've kind of went quickly and looked over the bodies, checked for any survivors. And then they kind of head back. It doesn't seem like they found any. They're heading back over to Troll Skull, to the manor.
I start asking any random people that are still standing around.
I'll be at the door frame, like
What happened?
crossbow out, looking to see what the fuck is going on.
Sure.
No
Make
question.
a perception check.
Seven.
Okay. Yeah, nothing. I mean, I say nothing out of the ordinary, but like
I
everything's as you would expect it to be
Yeah.
right now. Which is chaotic. You know, people. It's starting to kind of calm down a little bit in terms of people aren't running around screaming as much anymore. But you know, there's kind
They
of crowds.
ran scramming.
There's crowds sort of forming. There's other people in Troll Skull Alley who are sort of like popping their heads out of the doors, looking to see what the hell just happened, stuff like that.
When I get back, I told them that I spotted
Yeah,
that
I
at
asked a
least
few
two
random
of them.
people, like, what's going on? What's happened?
Okay.
Once I get back, I tell the people still there that at least two of them had the winged serpent on, I guess, their arm or something.
You're just like, okay.
I meant them.
Oh, I thought you meant the two people that came
No.
into the bar. They're just like, all right.
Did any of them have a recognizable face, or were they all like?
I mean, they're not like completely charred black over like their entire, you know.
Right, I'm just gonna start flipping through wanted posters to see if any of them like, even like vaguely resemble any of the bodies.
Sure.
Particularly the one that was holding the dagger.
Yes, actually.
Or the ones with the symbols.
The one with the dagger actually does vaguely look like somebody. He he doesn't have an affiliation with, like, he's not listed as having an affiliation with anything like Xanthars or Xantarm or anything like that. He's actually listed as wanted under charges
Buggery.
of no like theft of sort of it seems like various crimes. It seems like he's pissed off some noble family.
Okay.
Because it's sort of in fact it directly lists it says, you know, numerous crimes against House Castellanor.
Do I know anything about House Castellanor?
You well, just make an intelligence check.
Nope.
Is it
I'll show
is
it to the
Castellanor?
group. They'll be like, "This man is amongst the dead."
Let me make sure I'm getting.
He has ceased to be.
Yeah, Castellanor.
So should we all?
He his name is listed as Dalakar, a gnome.
The Hawkeye.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you get in your intelligence check? Not very good. Is that what you're saying?
3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You don't recognize the name Castellanor.
So if he shows it to all of us, should we?
All of you guys
roll
make
these?
intelligence checks. See if you know anything.
I did better. 14.
7.
14.
Okay. You guys recognize the name a bit. Not like you don't know anything like, oh, they're dealing in this or that or whatever. They're a noble house in Waterdeep, very wealthy. Mostly fairly, like, you guys have never heard anything too bad about them. Mostly pretty well liked in any sort of, like, things that you hear people talk about them. They seem relatively charitable. The biggest thing they're known for was that they a number of years ago, not many years ago, it's probably about 2 or 3 years ago, they were on some hard times. Sort of the whole city knew that their oldest son, no one's really sure, was kidnapped or ran away, disappeared, and the Castellanors were very distraught over, like, trying to find out what happened. And the outpouring of the community sort of, the sympathy garnered from the community was such that it kind of elevated the family status a bit. I mean, they were already nobles and fairly wealthy, but they weren't as prominent of a noble family. But because of, like, the situation that happened with their son, and it kind of became a public,
It's like the Lindbergh baby.
Yeah, kind of. As a result of that, and the public knew what was going on, and it kind of was on the mouths of the public and stuff like that. It resulted in them kind of becoming even a bigger deal, and now everybody knows who they are, and they're very well
City guard
off.
showed up yet?
Except for me.
City guard showed up yet?
Yeah, so
And,
the city guard does eventually show up. 6 guards. 6 guards each entrance into the alley show up. blocking off, sort of cordoning the place off. Another 6 guards.
Did I get anything out of the bystanders?
I mean, nothing much. Mostly just that everybody was kind of just minding their own business, doing their thing, and then there was a quick whistle in the air, and then this explosion happened. If you want, you could try to make depending on what you think it is, like if you think it was some sort of magic, you could do an Arcana check. If you want to know if it was like a natural thing, it would be a nature check.
I'll try Arcana since I'm proficient.
Okay.
Okay.
It was sewer gas.
7.
Okay. You're not sure. If it was magic, it's there's too little detail to really be able to pinpoint. There's lots of fire spells
I'd
that
say
in theory could do something.
Probably more chemical, so like something man-made. So what check would it be for that?
Like if anything goes alchemical.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Then it would be probably
Maybe that'd still be
Probably still an Arcana check.
probably still Arcana.
I know a lot of people are
Okay.
looking. I know a lot of people are probably looking at all the bodies
That's
and
funny.
shit. But before
What do I know?
the guards get any closer, I want to maybe do a quick run through the bodies and see if I can figure out any residue, any kind of.
Okay.
Is there semen here?
You said you got a nat 20?
Mhm.
Alright. You think it's pretty obvious based on like what you've heard, the description of what happened, and just the size of the explosion, and the fact that there isn't sort of existing flames like on any of the nearby buildings and things like that. And it was probably a fireball spell.
Yeah.
That's you're pretty certain that that's probably what it was.
When I see the guards coming, I approach one of them, introduce
Right.
myself, tell them I'm with the gauntlet, and say that we've identified one of them by wanted poster, and 2 of them have the symbol of, what was it?
No, it's just one of them.
One of them?
Just
I thought
one.
it was both of the armored ones.
Just one of them.
Okay, one of them had the symbol of the, whatever it was,
Zentarm.
on his arm.
Before the guards showed up, you said before they showed up. You said you wanted to go do a once over on the bodies. All right, make an investigation roll.
21.
Okay. The description of all the bodies that I gave.
Anything on their person that's not like blow the shit.
You also noticed the tattoo, the Zentarm tattoo on one of the male humans. You're able to identify that one of the guys in the plain clothes, the nice clothes, is a half elf. They weren't able to quite notice that before. You're able to identify, and that the smaller bodied people over by the musical instruments appear to be 2 male and 2 female halflings. You have actually seen the 2 females out there performing on a lot of mornings, like for money and stuff like that. They, other than the dagger in the gnome's hand, they don't appear. There's, sheathed long swords on the 2 in leather armor, but they're still sheathed. I'll say, with that, based on the placement of the bodies, it looks like the elderly woman, the 3 that are well dressed, and the halflings seem to be kind of on the outside of sort of what seems to be like the blast radius. Probably unintended casualties. And it looks like the two armored ones and the gnome with the dagger were more center to the blast.
Which is probably the intended targets.
Probably the intended targets. The gnome, though, you're able to actually see, he's not, the blast pushed him back, moved him, but you actually see some of the gnome's tracks heading towards y'all's house. Now his body's been blown back away from where he was standing due to the blast, but you're actually able to see some of his tracks, and you notice that they were actually heading, his last sort of course of direction before he was hit with this fireball was towards Troll Skull Manor.
Interesting. Okay.
And the two leather-clad ones seem to be, they weren't with him, like traveling with him. They seem to have been some ways back behind him.
Okay.
That's what you're able to sort of
Following or
glean
just
from.
happen to be behind him?
Like I said, they.
I haven't told you this yet.
Yeah. But once the guards come up, you also notice Griffin cavalry riders are now circling the area, keeping watch on everything.
After I do my thing, I
Miss Scoozy.
quickly walk back over to quickly walk back over to the manor. And
Okay. What time is it right now?
Like
Do
17.
we want to take a break real quick before we get into stuff? Does anybody need a bathroom break?
yeah, it's 8:17. Should probably be a break.
Alright, we're going to take a quick 10, 15. Everybody go to the bathroom, get drink refills, things like that. Then we'll come back to
Get some of that rice.
the crime scene. Find out,
Good.
maybe find out what exactly happened, or
Not. Well, maybe.
not.
hungry.
That's certainly possible. You're hungry. Go get some fried rice.
Very necessary.
Have more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ba 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 ba.
My man.
Brand new.
My phone's dead.
We're back,
We're back.
bitches.
So, yeah, all the guards have arrived, and you see what appears to be an officer of sorts. He's looks a little. He looks like the grizzled, like a thin grizzled cop, like you would see in like, you know. Think of Nick Nolte in 48 Hours.
Or Nick Nolte just,
Or just
any
Nick
day
Nolte.
of the week.
But with like a,
Is it like the Jake and the Fat Man? No.
but with like he's got like a mustache and like a thin beard, and he seems very kind of like about everything. With him is a shorter, more rotund individual in sort of different shades of purple robes, a walking stick, some satchels, and like a chain with a medallion on it.
It just gets pimpier the more you describe.
Yeah, basically.
I am the pimp detective.
He
The detective known as Sickback.
the officer seems to sort of just be kind of directing the other city guard around and telling them, you know, giving them posts, telling them where to stand and stuff like that. While the fatter guy with a much fuller beard and sort of like curled, big wax curled mustache, small sort of glasses, round glasses. He is starting to question people in the alley and stuff like that, and get information. And the sergeant is standing next to him, and as he's kind of like telling some of the city guard, you know, what to do and blah blah. He's also got a book open. He's jotting down whatever people say in terms of their stuff. Eventually, the shorter guy in the robes starts investigating the bodies, looking them over. He sort of nods. You see him sort of. It's hard to hear him, but he sort of says a few things to the officer, who's jotting some more stuff down. Eventually, they kind of make their way over to you guys after they've looked at the bodies, and the shorter guy, who seems to be kind of doing the real investigative work, just is like, well, we're asking everybody who may have been a witness what exactly they saw, trying to corroborate any witnesses, piece together the facts. Does anybody have anything that they...
Most of us woke up to a large explosion, went downstairs to see what happened, and all we really saw was the street in fire and chaos.
He's like, what's your name?
My name is Sylvia. I'm with the Order of the Gauntlet.
Wonderful. He says, my name is Barnabas Blastwind.
And reach out and shake his hand.
And this is Sergeant Seth Cromley. And Cromley just sort of like
I went out to take a look, see if there were any survivors or any information that could be gathered. We identified one of the downed men from a wanted poster.
I'll hold out the wanted poster for him.
he sort of like lifts his spectacles up and looks at it, and everybody's yes, the gnome fellow.
There were also two armored men, one of which had the symbol of whatever it is.
Zentarum.
Yes.
He says, very astute of you. I noticed that as well, though I have to question, how did you notice this?
As I said, I went out to investigate, and that's
So
what I found.
you touched the bodies.
I leaned down and expected them to figure out who they might be.
We thought we might find survivors who needed assistance.
Of course, yes. Well, right kind of course. Just any other information that you might have? Do you
This
see
is-
anything? Do you know if you, since you took a look at any of them, and you seem to have this poster, have you had any interactions with this gnome gentleman before?
No.
Okay.
There are a couple of other individuals who may have witnessed something inside of our building.
Oh,
Ah.
yeah, have they left?
No, they're still there.
Okay.
You may wish to question them as well.
They
We
They're like,
brought
"Oh."
them in to keep them sheltered.
excellent. Okay. They're like, may we then? They sort of gesture like we can
course.
come inside. He sort of the smaller gentleman on his walking stick sort of like hobbles in.
Excuse the mess, sir. We were trying to renovate the place.
He looks around and he's like, "Mhm."
Good luck.
Yeah.
The
Worst flippers ever.
he goes over to the two people that are in there, and one of them, a female, he asks the name of, and she says, "Oh, Jezerine, Your Majesty, sir. I'll tell you whatever I can." He's sort of like, what exactly did you see? Were you on the streets at the time? She's like, yeah, oh yeah. I tell you what I saw wasn't a man, sir. It was some sort of puppet, but no strings attached.
I
It
love
was-
that album. God, do I love it.
It was up on the rooftops. I saw it jumping from building to building, and then it hurled something into the crowd below, and an explosion, and then oh, I saw those halflings just burned alive. I saw it. It was terrible.
Oh, sweet little half album, Jesus.
And the Magister sort of comforts her a bit, and he nods and he's like, of course, a puppet, you say? She's like, that's, I swear, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what I saw.
T-Cake is really uncomfortable.
I seen it. I seen it.
it.
Stared, I seen it.
Yeah, I like quickly glances at TK, see what he's doing, and then
TK's just sort of like,
What are you looking at me for?
there's more of you.
There's only one of me.
He,
I'm an individual.
You are not the Borg.
the other one just sort of reiterates what Jezerine says, and it's just like, I saw the same thing. Barnabas and Seth are kind of just like nodding, and they don't really know what to make of that information. Seth is jotting it all down, but eventually they sort of Barnabas is like, that's all. I appreciate your forthcoming and the information that you were able to give. Seth just kind of looks at them and is just like, trust in the watch, and sort of turns and follows.
This is
Barnabas.
more of a hunch than information, but based off of my knowledge and what was left behind, it seems to have been a fireball spell, which would vaguely match with what the woman said.
Barnabas nods and he's like, yes, okay. And then they kind of like, well, we will no longer intrude on your home. if you happen to find any more information out, if anything comes to light, please make sure you contact myself or Sergeant Crowley here, or Cromley, and we will make sure that we get to the very bottom of this heinous act. And then they sort
Yes,
of
Good luck
walk
with
out.
investigation.
They kind of spend a few more minutes talking to people outside, looking over the bodies, and then eventually they have the bodies sort of wrapped up and carried off towards temples to have them prepared for burials and things like that. Once the guards all leave and the magistrate and the sergeant are gone and everything, most of the people kind of leave now that the bodies aren't lying around and stuff like that, but there's still a number, the locals, the people that live nearby, like your neighbors and stuff, are all still sort of standing outside talking and just kind of, about stuff. The air seems a lot more
Smoky.
well, I don't mean like the literal air, but just the air of the people that are left, like your neighbors and stuff like that. Now the scene's calmed down, there's less people in the alley. You get a sense that people are being a little more chatty about what they've seen. Where previously when you were going up and talking to people, a lot of people were very sort of closed-lipped. They didn't want to say too much. They knew the guard were on the way and stuff like that. They weren't sure, what they, what was going on. But now everybody's sort of, the gossiping is kind of starting
Do
and stuff like that. So
the guards have still have the immediate
no, they
last space area cornered off or something? Or
no. Everything's sort of been it's been about 30 minutes or so, 30, 45 minutes. All of that's sort of been cleaned up. I mean, there's still some, the streets broken, some of the cobblestones are broken up, and there's still some charred marks on the ground and stuff like that. But I mean, they don't have a cordon. There's nothing more they can really do.
all right.
So
Well, I go roaming around, see if I can find anything not in the blast radius area because I was there, but alleyways, corners of places,
okay, when you head back out, you actually see a small kid. I mean, small preteen. He's kind of kneeling down over on one side where some of the bodies, the halfling bodies were over in that general area. He's kind of kneeling down on the ground, crying into his hands. There's another woman who lives in one of the buildings across the street that has come out and is kind of chatting and openly gossiping and stuff like that. That's pretty much.
I go over to the young boy.
He's just kind of openly crying into his hands, and he's you get the sensation just from sort of the things he's mumbling and saying under his tears that he may have known the halflings, that the musicians that were there. As you approach, he kind of sniffles and wipes his nose and eyes a little bit, and he's just I'm sorry if I was disturbing you, sir.
You're not. Do you have somewhere to go?
Oh, yeah, I live nearby. I just can't believe what I saw. I've known them for years. So ever since I was really little, I always liked to come out here in the mornings and listen to them play whenever I knew they were here. And I'd always ask my mom for some copper to give them. They were always really kind to me. But I was on my way to listen to them.
I kneel down to get to his level.
Yeah. He's like, I was on my way. I heard them playing, and I went home to get some copper from Mama, and I was on the way back when the explosion happened. I was so scared, and he points back into an alley like between buildings. And he points at a set of like barrels that are sitting like in the alley. He's like, I was so scared, I jumped right into one of those barrels. I wasn't sure what would happen next, if there'd be another one or what. I tried to stay out of sight in case something bad was happening. And you know, right after that explosion, I heard a plop.
Alright.
And he pulls out of his pocket this necklace. He's like, and somebody dropped this in there.
I get some kind of check on it.
Get a what?
Some kind of check on it.
Yeah, make a Arcana check.
Come on, man.
Do I see all of this?
9.
Possibly, yeah.
Unless you follow me, I want by myself.
Well, I'd be standing by the door right now.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's a little ways away. You see him talking to the kid, and the kid pulled something out of his, you can't make much out of it, you can't see any details about it. The kid's holding something. You're not sure what it is. It's not a normal necklace, though.
Mind if I see that young man?
He's like, yeah, sure. He kind of hands it to you. It's just a really simple chain. It doesn't look fancy or like overly expensive. It's not gold. It's just like a silver, maybe not even pure silver chain. The chain itself doesn't seem overly valuable, but there are these sort of opalescent orbs attached to it. That they're these red. It's not a white opalescent color. It's this red opalescent, like swirling.
Getting that feeling
To
from this
these
thing, probably.
small little these orbs that are attached to the chain, and you can tell they're attached fairly loosely. Like the clasp that holds them on is like really thin, cheap metal. Like it could be ripped off. The chain at any like pretty easily.
I smile at him. It's like, sir, do you live nearby here? Is your home here?
Yeah, just a few blocks south of here.
Do you think I can give you a couple of silver and I may have this object?
A few silver, sure.
Dude would probably settle for a
For
copper
two
at his
silver.
age.
Okay, he takes it, and he kind of he pockets both of them and stands up, and he's like, "Thanks, mister," and then he is sort of like, he turns to walk away and he stops. He turns around, reaches into the pocket he had just put the coins in, and he takes out 2 copper coins, and he places them on the stones right in front of where he was kneeling, and he gets up and he runs off.
Bit of change.
And then, yeah, he just runs off. Any of you can make a perception check.
Mother ass Bart
13.
Simpson, what the nipples?
I'll give you advantage
17.
because you're nearby.
Okay.
I actually fell asleep.
You fell asleep.
17.
Okay.
So 13. It's my highest one.
At least it wasn't one.
You
minus
you
one.
two over here, the neighbor, the lady across the street that's out
I don't like these
gossiping,
dice
you
that
kind of
don't
hear
roll.
her talking to another neighbor, and she's like, I was watering my plants in the greenhouse on my 2nd floor when the blast blew out the windows. I'm lucky I wasn't injured. Through the smoke, I saw a cloaked man take something from the body of the dead gnome. He said, and then he just began limping away. He was badly burned. Kept casting glances over his shoulders, like he was afraid someone might have been following him. You know, pretty sure he was headed down towards the bent nail.
Pencil?
After
Both
hearing,
of you heard that.
Yeah.
yeah, after hearing that, I go back to I go back to where PK is and Matthias is and everybody else.
Just to clarify, bent nail?
Whoever's
okay.
there, whoever's there. I guess back at the manor, if you guys are still standing around there, these two.
I actually had a thing that I was gonna do.
What do you want to do?
So the Troll Skull Manor's got this like turret thing up to the 4th floor. How high is that compared to the surrounding buildings?
I reckon
There's
some of the other buildings
the
also have
immediately
turrets.
surrounding buildings is probably about a floor higher. Like it's generally of the immediately surrounding buildings is probably the tallest.
Alright, so I'm gonna go up to the top so I can see the roofs of the surrounding buildings.
Okay, yeah.
And just see what I can see from up there.
Sure, make
I
a
go
perception
for
check.
Matthias.
Okay.
I don't see shit.
I'm gonna start preparing to leave, and I'm gonna tell everybody I'm heading to the Gauntlet, keep them informed.
I'm sorry, what did you get, Nate?
Nothing.
Okay.
I got nothing. I walked all the way up there. Nothing.
You
And I walk all the way back down.
you go up, you get out on the roof, or you just kind of like hang out the window, whatever, and just you look up and down, sort of all along the horizon as far as you can see if you see anything, because you remember hearing that.
Libbly pimbly.
Yeah, and you're like, maybe something's still up there, you know. But you don't see anything. You get you're like, it's been a little while. It's been probably close to an hour since the explosion happened, so probably at this point anything that was up there is fled the scene.
When I head out, I'm going to leave my armor, but keep a single scimitar on me.
Okay.
Matthias, there you are.
Did you find anything?
Yeah, I think I did.
Single scimitar on my daggers.
I'm going to have to probably consult the blacksmith on this particular matter. But
We're gonna have to go talk to that dick again.
maybe I'll go by myself this time. But I think the person that got the most shard from this radius might have been coming to see us. I only say that because the footprints that stop dead in its tracks, no pun intended.
But pun still taken.
Coming right for
Do
our
you know who it was?
our manor.
Was it the gnome or one of the human men?
Are you there?
I said that I'm getting ready to leave, not that I've left yet.
No. Okay. Do you know who it was?
I don't recognize him.
Well, you go do that. Maybe I'll try to find out who that was.
Sounds good. I'll meet you back here in a couple hours.
Again, if it was the gnome, we already know who it was.
All right.
Yeah, and I pocketed that thing I found.
All of you also make. There's no local anymore. I guess it'd be history. Is there history?
Yeah, history.
Everybody make a history check.
Nothing.
I will give you advantage because you are a
Hey, 22.
you are a local to what you have
Yeah.
grown up in Waterdeep.
Yeah.
So you remember hearing Jezreen talking to Cromley and Barnabas about what she saw on the roofs.
The puppet.
Yeah, the puppet. And you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, freaking puppet? And at first when you hear the description you're thinking like, small little puppet.
Puppet show.
Marionette.
But then you just think it's ridiculous, but then something kind of comes to you and you're like, wait a minute. During the parade for the Day of Wonders, the Temple of Gond often has, marching in the parade, these automatons, these sort of metal and wood golem-like things that they're thin and live, and they do kind of move almost like maybe a puppet would if it were on strings, but without strings. And they usually have like sort of like carved with like beards and like with like fedora, like large hats.
Of course, they're
and stuff like that. They're usually, you're not sure what the temple uses them for, but the Temple of Gond is they have a lot of dealings with making automatons or golem-y type creatures, things like TK, of different shapes and sizes and stuff like that.
I've been playing too much Twilight Princess, but that reminds me of an enemy in Twilight Princess.
You start thinking like, you could kind of see if somebody had seen that, why they might describe it as like a puppet without strings.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start thinking like, maybe that's what it was, one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But you've only ever seen them really, like, you've never gone, you don't worship Gond or anything like that. You don't hang out in the temple. The only time you've ever seen them is during the parades. So you don't know why one would otherwise be running around on rooftops, but
Okay. All right. Well, if I come to that conclusion, like while you're around, I'll relay all of that to you. Would I know, like, does the temple like create these things to sell, or are they strictly for temple use? To my
Or are they
knowledge.
just for the parade?
you don't know specifically if they make them for sale, but you do know that most things that temples do with enough money can be purchased as a service, because that's one of the ways that temples stay afloat, you know.
Sure. Okay.
So it's certainly, you figure within reason that it's possible someone could have bought one from the temple.
All right. Well, I'll say that to Silas since he's here.
And again, I'm
Yeah. Maybe when you go talk to your black staff chick, maybe ask if she has any information on those golems.
Good idea.
I might go snooping around the Temple of Gone, see if they know anything. Maybe they know where the inventory's gotten to, or find a way that maybe we can track it.
Good idea.
business
Alright,
logs. I don't know.
Where do you want to meet? Back here?
Yeah, meet back here by what time of day is it?
Um,
This is morning, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Morning.
Yeah,
At
like
this
mid morning or early
At
afternoon.
at this, so it all happened like
High sun, 13th bell, what?
at this point. It's probably been about an hour since the explosion happened. Explosion happened probably right around 6:30 in the morning, so it's like 7:30 going on 8 o'clock in the morning.
Jeez.
Okay. Okay, well, let's meet back here, after lunch. Gives us time to go, talk, come back.
Alright.
A few hours.
And I start heading off towards the Blackstaff area.
Okay.
Castle War, I think.
You're headed to the Order of the Gauntlet, Temple of Tyr. TK, what are you doing?
I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I'll go tag along with somebody. I don't know.
Actually, I'm going to take care of the dung sweepers, I guess.
Oh,
Look
that's
around
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you say anything to TK about? Temple
I
of
would
Gauntlet?
have told that
everybody?
to everyone.
Anybody
You're fairly familiar with the Temple of Gond. They, because of what you are, you often are sort of mistaken as possibly being property of the temple.
Right.
You occasionally, when after bounty hunts, if you've been particularly hurt, sometimes you have gone there looking for assistance in repairs. You know that Temple of Gond is the god of sort of ingenuity and invention and things like that. And the place is full of inventors and people who make things like you, but that maybe look a bit like you, but aren't like you. So you've been there before. You've been there a number of times. So when Matthias says something about, you know, you probably have actually, even when he describes, you know, what he's talking about, the things he's seen in the parades, you even know what he's talking about is a thing called a nimble right. And a nimble right is essentially an automaton created and invented to essentially assist with making more inventions and doing more tasks, you know.
Fetching a wrench, stuff like that.
Well, not just that. I mean, they can be set to build things themselves, or they are usually imbued with enough intelligence that they can kind of, they don't have true sentience, but that they can
solve a problem.
Solve problems. If they're like, we need to figure out how to do this, they can work with things and figure out how to do it,
Right.
and then almost invent things on their own if given.
So rudimentary AI.
Right. So you know that from the description of what he gives, you know, you've seen them at the Temple of God, and it very much fits.
Well, I'll describe that
Right.
to you so you
Well,
have more information.
Since you've been there before, do you have someone that you know particularly well? Someone that maybe I could use as an in?
Don't have a contact.
Yeah, I would say you probably do. There's a dragonborn priest there by the name of Valletta, who you've dealt with a few different times, like again when you've needed repairs, stuff like that. She has been fairly nice. She's a bronze dragonborn. Generally always been kind. Has always taken a very big interest in you because you intrigue her.
Because of my condition.
Yeah. And so she's also been one of the few people that when you told her that you were sentient, that you were a person, you know, of your own and stuff like that, she never questioned it. She was just like, oh, wow, that's awesome. You know, like, the only person who's ever given you really acceptance without, you know, question.
Right.
And in general, you don't, I mean, unless you want to, you don't necessarily worship God, but you've always found the place somewhat relaxing because you know that nobody really looks at you weird there.
I don't stick out as much.
Yeah. Valletta, a priestess there, would be who you talk to.
Yeah, I'll give you her name, describe her.
Okay.
Or if you want to wait a couple of hours, I'll do my mission and come back and then go there with you.
I'd be okay with it. I'll
Or he could tag along on his mission.
after if you're gonna go do that for a few hours, I'll kind of stay around here. Do we have people coming in to like patron the bar, or is it?
You guys aren't open as far as I know.
Then I'll stay around this area, and since people are being a bit more chatty, maybe I'll try to chat and just get whatever, ground level stuff I can overhear around here. Maybe sneak around and overhear people.
Okay. Make an investigation roll.
That's cocked.
I got
If you give me a moment, I might be able to get it.
I got it. I think I got it. Jesus Christ!
Do you want me to get it for
I'll
you?
get down there. I'll get it.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Seriously.
All right. 17 on the.
This is a one-man job, guys.
Not for fat people. Shut up, fucking skinny young person.
I think
All right,
you
so,
are one person.
This is what happens when you meet
When you eat 30 chicken nuggets.
over a long and storied life.
30 chicken nuggets a day.
over a long story.
It's not 30 nuggets over 30 years, right?
No.
Definitely not.
That'd be a bad
That'd be a
integrity.
few hundred.
Few hundred in my sweet summer job. I ate 100 in one sitting in high school once.
Jesus Christ.
I was working out a lot, dude. I could do that shit
Back then, he actually was like in shape doing sports and stuff. So
Yeah.
made up for it, I guess.
His metabolism was better. He
Yeah,
did shit like
no.
that.
The problem is I
I
kept
don't
all
know
of my
if that was
eating
better.
habits from when I was working out a lot.
That was my problem. Like, I marched in high school, right? Which,
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my school, marching band was like fucking serious work. We used to have to like run mile. I was in the drum line. We used to have to run a mile with our drum on and shit like that. So like, despite the fact that at that time I thought I was fat, looking back at pictures, I'm like, I was not fucking fat. And I could eat like crazy and not really put on weight because I was doing all this shit marching for.
Yeah.
And I kept eating like that when I went to Elon,
Dude, there was
and
an
I was
eatery.
not marching anymore.
Nope.
And
There was an eatery that was less like I know that. Did you ever go to Daniel Lee Center?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay, so the Daniel Lee Commons was the next building over from my like. There wasn't even a road in between us. It was just like 30 yards of walkway, and the two Croatian dudes that worked there. I was about to say lived. They might have lived there. I don't know. Fucking loved me because I actually cared enough to learn their names and like say hello to them all the time and like ask them how their day was, and everyone else was stuck up.
Sure.
An Elon
Yeah,
kid.
Elon kids. Yeah.
So I kept like they would make raps. I love their raps.
Yeah, they're
Normal raps were like this. Mine were like they were fucking chodes, man, and I ate like 5 of them a day.
There was this one girl
They
in
were
middle
amazing.
school who I kind
I
of
miss you, Ida and Skinder.
Who I kind of pissed off when she called me fat, and I just looked at her like she was crazy.
Cool though.
They were awesome.
But no, like, I had for the first couple of years at Elon before they got rid of it, I had the unlimited meal plan.
Yeah, me too. That was the dumbest.
Where literally, so all right, to give you an idea, not only did Elon have 3 cafeterias,
Yeah.
if you count Daniel Lee as like a cafeteria, because there
Well,
was
they had Daniel Lee Commons. They had upstairs
McEwen.
downstairs McEwen.
Oh yeah,
Then they had Octagon.
yeah.
Then they had what was the one that was
The really big one, the buffet.
yes.
Yeah.
well,
I forget what
yeah.
it's called. Yeah.
So what you're saying is Elon liked their food.
Yeah, and then they also had like a little like a deli place that when I was there you could use your meal plan.
Yeah.
For like-
yeah, Acorn.
Acorn. It was like you could use a meal plan was worth like
It's like $10 or $15.
not even that. It was like you could use it as long as to count as like $4.75 or something like that worth of food, right?
So it would subsidize your meal a little bit.
Right. Yeah. But for the first couple years when they had the unlimited, they eventually got rid of the unlimited meal plan because of people like
Biggs
me.
existed.
Yeah. Well, first off,
Same reason that Movie Pass is dying
Yeah.
because of people like
people, I would basically throughout the day I would make my rounds. Well, actually, I should take that back. Freshman year, before they put any restrictions on it, I could use. Yeah, my meal plan. First off, counted it was one meal for one thing, but I had the limited number of them. Period. So like, if other friends had already used their meal plan but wanted to eat again, I'd just be like, just put it on mine, and we would just swipe multiple people in on my card, and then, or I would be like, go to like the Acorns, like yeah, it's $4.75 worth of food, but I'm like, I don't care, give me all the fucking food and just swipe it however many fucking times you gotta do. I don't give a shit. And so that's what would happen. And I would,
Thanks, Biggs.
and like they had in the Octagon in the student center, they had like Chick-fil-A. They had a Chick-fil-A in there. A Little Caesars.
it was a bunch of just non-denominational food. It was
They were chain places that had set up in there, and I would go in there and get like slices of pizza, chicken nuggets, and chicken sandwiches, just like load up like bags of stuff, and just be like, I don't know how much.
sure because there's one where I just like I know I look disheveled all the time, but like I've actually got like on a jacket and a tie and like my hair is just everywhere. I look like I've got about an inch of grease on me. It is